Chapter 551. Originally, he wanted to cultivate until the middle stage of the Jindan realm, before waiting for his master to finish nurturing the magic tool that his master had refined. At that time, he would be able to kill a 4th stage high-grade refined corpse. However, he didn't expect that the refined corpse would take the initiative to attack, and it came from the south. If the refined corpses went in other directions, then they could do whatever they wanted. However, apart from a few half-demon tribes, and a pack of bloodthirsty ash wolves in the south, there was nothing else that could stop the refined corpses. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to ignore the demons and half-demons' cries for help. Once the bloodthirsty ash wolves and the silver fox tribe collapsed, the only thing left between Jade Spring Peak and the refined corpses was Mount Huiyan. Mount Huiyan, which was north of Jade Spring Peak, was already a remnant of the mountain range. There were no high-ranked demonic beasts here, so it was completely useless for refining corpses. Refined corpses would be able to drive straight to the south of the mountain. At that time, he would have to deal with a group of refined corpses alone. The only thing he could do was to disrupt his plan and help him block the refined corpse. Wang Daoyuan and the two parties agreed to meet between the Blood Wolf Mountain and the Silver Fox tribe. Now the Blood Wolf Mountain had 3 rank 4 monstrous beasts. Other than the half-dead Ash Wolf King, there were also Blood Fang King and Fierce Tooth King. The Blood Wolf Mountain was originally the territory of the Ash Wolf King. Later, it was forced by the half-demon and asked other wolves for help. Blood Fang King and Blazing Red King were here to help Ash Wolf King look after the place. Their tribe had also migrated to the vicinity of Blood Wolf Mountain. There were 2 golden core half-demons on the half-demon side. Aside from the Silver Fox tribe's fox spirit, there was also the tribe leader of the Dark Fox tribe, Ming Xian. The Underworld Fox tribe was originally very far from Mount Blood Wolf, but due to the conflicts between the demons and half-demons, there were many demons in the original location of the Underworld Fox tribe. Ming Xian was afraid that his tribe would be attacked, so he ran to the vicinity of the Silver Fox tribe. It just so happened that the Silver Fox tribe was alone. Naturally, they welcomed the Dark Fox tribe. The Ash Wolf King was half dead, and the bloodthirsty Ash Wolves could only send out 2 Wolf Kings. Both sides were evenly matched. Both the Wolf King and the 2 half-demons weren't very strong. With Wang Daoyuan's strength, even if someone attacked him, he was confident that he could escape unscathed. After saying goodbye to Zhou Luan, he went straight to the meeting place. This was a meeting, so Wang Daoyuan did not hide his figure. After leaving returning Wild Goose City Square, he swaggered and flew on a cloud. Soon they arrived at the meeting place. In order to show their sincerity, the Devil Race and Half-Devil Race were negotiating on a small hill without a spirit vein. It was not easy to set up a permanent formation in such a place. This was also to reassure Wang Daoyuan. On a small piece of flat land halfway up the mountain, there were 5 praying mats. 4 of them were already occupied. Wang Daoyuan rode a cloud and landed halfway up the mountain. He cupped his hands and said, "Greetings to the 4 Daoyu." The 4 of them returned his salute. Wang Daoyuan sized them up. He had met Hu Ling and Blood Fang Monarch at Wild Goose Gathering Tower. The fox spirit was still the same. Blood Fang King's face was pale, and he looked like he was about to collapse. Roaring Tooth Monarch and Blood Tooth Monarch looked similar, but this Ming Xian was a standard fox spirit. Ming Xian was a rather thrifty half-fiend. She wore a tight black leather jacket that accentuated her curvaceous figure. Her face was like a peach blossom, and her eyes were like autumn waves. As soon as Wang Daoyuan landed, she threw flirtatious glances at him. She was most likely cultivating the Tao of Charm. Wang Daoyuan did not look at her for long and looked away. If he fell for it and brought a half-fiend back, with Zhou Wan's personality, she would turn Jade Spring Peak upside down. With the Heart Sutra of Cloud and Rain, one Zhou Wan would not be a problem. However, if there was another half-fiend cultivating the Tao of Charm, even if he could take it, his waist would not be able to hold it. Hu Ling spoke first. "Daoyu, the 4 of us are powerless to stop the refined corpses invading the south. We can only ask for your help." Wang Daoyuan asked. The half-fiends of the fox race are also a big race in the northern mountains. Needless to say, the bloodthirsty ash wolves, Why don't you ask for help from your own race, instead of a human cultivator? Hu Ling sighed. The half-fiends of the fox race mainly cultivate the art of charm and illusion, which is ineffective against refined corpses. The innate art of the bloodthirsty ash wolves is related to sucking blood, but refined corpses don't have blood. To deal with refined corpses, we can only rely on our own spiritual energy to resist them. The lethality of our spells is extremely low. Last time, 4 refined corpses came. 2 of them were mid-grade, and 2 of them were low-grade. The 4 of us did not have the ability to severely injure them, but their attacks could easily injure us. Blood Fang King Daoyu was injured by a refined corpse. If we did not have many tricks up our sleeves, I'm afraid we would have died in their hands last time. The juniors in the tribe are weak, and did not even have time to escape. We suffered heavy losses. If Daoyu does not help us, we can only give up our territory and leave. Wang Daoyuan naturally could not ignore it. The refined corpses are our common enemy, so I naturally will not leave them alone. It's just that I don't know much about refined corpses, so I don't have much confidence in killing them. If the refined corpses come again, I can try to kill a low-grade 4th-grade refined corpse. The other refined corpses will be held back by the 4 of you. Hearing this, the 4 of them were overjoyed. Ming Xian hurriedly winked and said coquettishly, I knew Big Brother Wang would not leave us in the lurch. On the side, Roaring Tooth King could not stand it anymore. Enough, Ming Xian. As far as I know, Daoyu is only a little over 200 years old. He is considered extremely young among human golden core cultivators. You are 1,000-year-old, which who can be his ancestor for dozens of generations. Yet you still have the nerve to call him Big Brother. Aren't you afraid of disgusting Daoyu? Ming Xian was about to retort, but Hu Ling immediately stopped her. This was to prevent the 2 of them from quarreling and affecting their upcoming joint battle. He hurriedly changed the topic. Ming Xian is a mid-grade golden core cultivator, and Roaring Tooth King is also a mid-grade 4th-grade refined corpse. The 2 of them should have no problem holding back 2 mid-grade 4th-grade refined corpses. Bloodtooth King and I are slightly lower in cultivation, but we can hold back 1 low-grade 4th-grade refined corpse each to create an opportunity for Daoyu. Roaring Tooth King ignored Ming Xian and asked Wang Daoyuan instead. I heard that Daoyu has the life spiritual fire that can heal injuries. I wonder if it can heal Bloodtooth King's injuries. He was injured by the refined corpses, and his wounds have corpse and death chi that corrode his body. It is difficult for him to use his full strength. Wang Daoyuan was unhappy. It was most likely that the underworld sect had tricked him and revealed his life spiritual fire to the demon race. They did not dare to attack him, so they wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife. The human forces were afraid of Lei Yanjinren, but the demon race was not. Lei Yanjinren would not dare to act rashly if the demon race killed Wang Daoyuan and hid in the sky/mountain range. After all, there were demon kings comparable to half-step Yuanying in the sky/mountain range. Since the other party had already said it, if Wang Daoyuan refused, it would seem too insincere. He nodded and said, in front of a great enemy, we naturally have to face a common enemy. Helping Bloodtooth King heal his injuries is reasonable. Bloodtooth King lifted his robe and revealed his left arm. There were 5 claw marks on the side of his forearm. The wounds had turned black and emitted a thick corpse stench. However, Bloodtooth King was a 4th-grade demon beast, and his spirit energy was not weak. Corpse and death chi could not take his life, but it would take a long time for him to recover. Wang Daoyuan drew out a wisp of life spiritual fire from his fingertip and placed it on Bloodtooth King's wound. Sizzling sounds of corrosion could be heard, and the corpse stench became thicker. The life spiritual fire's vitality and death chi countered each other, but Wang Daoyuan did not expect it to have a restraining effect on corpse chi as well. Corpse chi and death chi were not the same thing, but they were of the same origin. They were both derived from yin chi, and were similar in nature. Refined corpses had yin chi and death chi coexisting, while ghosts only had death chi. The effect would be stronger if he used the Scarlet Yang True Fire. But Wang Daoyuan did not dare to take it out. After half a cup of tea's time, the death chi was completely exhausted, and the corpse chi was also depleted by 70 to 80%. Bloodtooth King also began to use his own blood energy to cleanse the remaining corpse chi. 15 minutes later, Bloodtooth King's injuries were completely healed. Both Bloodtooth King and Roaring Tooth King cupped their hands in thanks. Bloodtooth King said, "Thank you, Beiyuan, for your help. Otherwise, I don't know how long this injury would have lasted. This time, I owe Beiyuan a favor. If you need my help in the future, just ask." Chapter 552. Most of the demon race's fellows were honest men. Everything was laid out on the table. He said that he owed Wang Daoyuan a favor, so if Wang Daoyuan asked him for help in the future, he would definitely not decline. Although humans and demons could not coexist, they were opponents worthy of respect. Unlike those cowardly rats from the underworld sect, they did not dare to do so openly, and did not have the guts to scheme against others. They did not have the arrogance of demons. After reaching an agreement, they would return to their own territories. Ming Xian continued to tease, "Brother Daoyuan, I didn't expect you to be so young. You formed your golden core at 200 years old. You must be focused on cultivation. I'm afraid you don't even know about the matters between men and women. Why don't you come to my underworld fox tribe? Sister will teach you." Wang Daoyuan was disdainful. "Is there anyone who does not know how to do this? Furthermore, what have I not seen in my previous life? In this life, it's hard to say who will teach who." However, he still had a pure look on his face and smiled. "No need. The enemy is right in front of us. Ming Xian, Beiyuan should prepare more countermeasures." Fierce Tooth King mocked. "Old witch, Beiyuan doesn't like you. Don't embarrass yourself." Seeing that the two were about to fight again, Hu Ling and Blood Tooth King quickly stopped them and finally stopped. After they left, Wang Daoyuan could not help but shake his head. What is wrong with these fox half-demons? The White Fox tribe always wanted him to marry into their family, and then they asked him to be the matchmaker. This underworld fox, on the other hand, wanted to teach him about the matters between men and women. The refined corpse could come here at any time, so he did not return to Wild Goose Market. Wild Goose Market was more than 10,000 miles away. Once the refined corpse attacked, by the time he came to help, most of the demons and half-demons here would have been dead. This small hill was not bad, not far from the half-demon tribe. He could help at any time. This place was unfamiliar, and there was no formation protection. Wang Daoyuan did not dare to cultivate here, so he studied the heaven-sealing sword prison. In these 2 years, other than cultivating hard, he also restored the heaven-sealing sword prison. When this spell was cast personally, its power was naturally much stronger than the sword talisman. However, it was still difficult to modify it to work with the sword shadow divine light technique. After all, the predecessor of the sword shadow divine light technique was a spell created by an ancient great power. To directly modify it was not something that Wang Daoyuan, a golden core cultivator, could do. Even modifying the sky-sealing sword prison, so that it could be used with the sword shadow divine light technique, was an extremely difficult task. Now the only thing he could do was to sneak 10 sword shadows into the sword prison, and launch a sneak attack on his opponent, when he used the sealing heaven sword prison. It was impossible to use the sword shadows to increase the strength and power of the sword prison. After staying in the small hill for 3 days, Hu Ling and Ming Xian sent him a message asking for help. A small tribe north of the Silver Fox tribe was attacked by refined corpses. Hu Ling and Ming Xian had rushed over and informed the 2 wolf kings of the bloodthirsty ash wolf. At this critical moment, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to delay. He immediately rode a cloud and rushed to the small tribe that had been attacked. This small tribe was not far from here. In less than half a cup of tea's time, he had rushed over. Looking from the sky, there were indeed 4 refined corpses. There were 2 low-grade and 2 mid-grade tier 4 corpses. 2 of the 4 refined corpses were entangled with Hu Ling and Ming Xian, while the other 2 were attacking the small tribe's defensive formation. Wang Daoyuan did not say anything. He took out the white tiger blade and attacked the low-grade tier 4 refined corpse that was entangled with Hu Ling. This refined corpse was also in human form. The other low-grade tier 4 refined corpse was a black bear. Human-shaped refined corpses were weaker and easier to deal with. When the refined corpse saw Wang Daoyuan attacking, It actually broke free from Hu Ling and fled downwards. Although Tier 4 refined corpses regained some intelligence, their intelligence was usually very low, similar to that of ordinary wild beasts. This fellow actually ran away decisively after encountering two opponents of the same level. Wang Daoyuan's sneak attack failed, so he went to help Ming Xian deal with the mid-grade Tier 4 refined corpse. This fellow was a vulture with a wingspan of more than 30 meters. It was born to be able to fly. Even at Tier 4, its agility and speed in the air still surpassed that of ordinary demonic beasts. However, this vulture had already become a refined corpse. Its agility was much lower, but it was still not easy to deal with. Seeing Wang Daoyuan chasing after it, it did not continue fighting. It retracted its wings and quickly dove downwards. At this moment, Blood Fang King and Roaring Tooth King also rushed over. Wang Daoyuan transmitted his voice to them. The low-grade Tier 4 refined corpse is the easiest to kill. Each of you hold one back. I'll wait for an opportunity to finish it off. The four of them were all experienced in battle, and did not need to discuss how to fight. Ming Xian's methods were mainly charm and illusions. They did not have much destructive power against refined corpses, so they did not expect her to have any results. But after all, she was a mid-stage golden core cultivator. Holding back a mid-grade Tier 4 refined corpse was not a problem. She would hold back the most troublesome vulture. The other human-shaped mid-grade Tier 4 refined corpse was naturally given to Roaring Tooth King. Although spells could not restrain it, the bloodthirsty ash wolf's physical strength was extremely strong. It would not be a problem for it to suppress the human-shaped mid-grade Tier 4 refined corpse. As for the remaining low-grade Tier 4 refined corpse, it was the other way around. Fox Spirit would hold back the bear, while Blood Fang King used his physical strength to suppress the human-shaped refined corpse, creating an opportunity for Wang Daoyuan. Tier 4 refined corpses were not as agile as half-fiends and fiends. They could not choose their opponents. As soon as the fight began, Blood Fang King revealed his bloodthirsty ash wolf's true form. He turned into a 3-meter-long green-black demon wolf with fangs half a foot long in his mouth. It would not be a problem for him to suppress the human-shaped refined corpse. Moreover, his size would not affect his agility. Soon, Blood Fang King threw the human-shaped refined corpse to the ground and pressed its two front paws on the corpse's arms. Suppressing his disgust, he bit down on the corpse's head. Tier 4 refined corpses were strong, but they were still in human form. Compared to the bloodthirsty ash wolf, their physical strength was still a bit lacking. Tier 4 refined corpses were not only strong physically, but could also use simple spells. It spat out a cloud of black smoke to attack Blood Fang King. At the same time, Blood Fang King unleashed all of his chi and blood. His blood-red chi and blood surged out, forming a light shield that blocked the corrosive black smoke. Wang Daoyuan would not let go of this opportunity. He took out the vermilion bird fan and condensed a ball of green flame in his hand. He threw it at Blood Fang King. Then, he activated the vermilion bird fan to increase the power of the flame. He did not use the flame to attack. Instead, he let the flame release its vitality. Blood Fang King was surrounded by the flame and was not hurt at all. Instead, he felt refreshed. However, the refined corpse that was being suppressed was extremely unhappy. The vitality released by the fire of life was constantly dissolving the corpse and death chi. The refined corpse's physical strength was supported by these two things. Once it was used up, the body would be useless. Once the body was not strong enough, it would be torn to shreds by Blood Fang King. Of course, it would not sit and wait for death. It spat out a large cloud of black smoke to resist the vitality. At the same time, it struggled violently, trying to shake off Blood Fang King. However, Blood Fang Monarch wasn't someone to be trifled with. His body emitted a violent spiritual energy fluctuation. Spiritual fluctuations surged out from its body and pressed the refined corpse down half a foot. This spell seemed to be able to increase the body's weight instantly. It was very effective when used after pressing down the opponent. Refined corpses were still lacking in skills. They mainly relied on close combat and the corpse and death chi to corrode the opponent. Now that its physical strength was suppressed by Blood Fang King, and its corpse and death chi were destroyed by the fire of life, it could not resist at all. It could only scream and ask for help from the other refined corpses. Vulture was the most agile and wanted to help. Wang Daoyuan used the heaven-burning divine flame technique to form a jade green Beifong divine bird, which flew toward the vulture. Refined corpses hated vitality the most and did not dare to fight it head-on. With the help of the Beifong shadow, Ming Xian finally stalled Vulture and prevented it from interfering with Blood Fong King. After 15 minutes, the refined corpse that was suppressed by Blood Fong King finally couldn't hold on any longer. Its corpse and death chi were greatly consumed. Its body was not as strong as before. Its head was crushed by Blood Fong King, and its hands were torn off by the wolf claws. Blood Fong King followed up and tore the refined corpse into pieces. Then it shouted, "Dao Yu Wang, use the fire of life to rinse my mouth. This refined corpse stinks." Chapter 553. Wang Daoyuan gave a ball of spiritual fire of life to Blood Fong King, then attacked the low-grade rank 4 black bear corpse. However, the fox spirit's strength was far inferior to Blood Fong King's, so it couldn't suppress the black bear at all. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual fire of life would have a hard time burning the black bear. On the other side, Blood Fong King finished rinsing his mouth with spiritual fire of life and joined Wang Daoyuan in attacking the black bear. However, the black bear's body was much stronger than Blood Fong King's. Wang Daoyuan's attacks left many wounds on its body, but the black bear corpse was 50 to 60 feet long and didn't care about the slightest injury. It would be a waste of time to continue fighting like this. Roaring Fong King was still fine, as he had the upper hand against the mid-grade rank 4 humanoid corpse. Ming Xian wasn't as strong. Even with the help of Wang Daoyuan's Beifong, she wasn't Vulture's match. Her tight leather clothes were torn in many places, revealing a large part of her body. The three of them couldn't completely suppress the black bear, which made Wang Daoyuan a little frustrated. If he used the Crimson Yang primordial fire, or released the Red Wing Crow, the black bear would be killed instantly. Anyway, he didn't want to reveal too much of his strength. He took out his 5 natal Dharma artifacts and merged them into the 5 Elements seal. Everyone already knew that he had refined the 5 Elements Devil Suppression seal, so there was no point in hiding it. The 5 Elements seal had the strength of a late-stage golden core cultivator. It was enough to kill the black bear instantly. Vulture and the humanoid corpse both looked at the black bear. Vulture flapped his wings and knocked Ming Xian aside. After dodging the Beifong's attack, he pounced at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, it would be strange if no one was controlling this humanoid corpse. It even learned how to attack Wei to save Zhao. Wang Daoyuan took out the heaven-sealing sword prison talisman, and 108 sword shadows surrounded Vulture. Streaks of sword chi slashed at Vulture's body, but only left some shallow wounds and a few feathers. Vulture relied on his strong body to break through the heaven-sealing sword prison. Then, it flapped its wings fiercely and flew high into the sky to hide. Wang Daoyuan did not continue attacking it. His target was Roaring Tooth King's opponent. The black bear was not strong, but it was big and had a lot of corpse and death aura. It would take a lot of time to get rid of it. Wouldn't it be better to use this time to get rid of that 4th-tier mid-grade humanoid corpse? Now that they had the upper hand, the black bear would definitely not be able to escape. They would just have to stay and kill it. He shouted, "Ardent Tooth King." Roaring Tooth Lord immediately understood, and a blood-red barrier appeared around his body. He forcefully endured the attack of the rank 4 humanoid corpse and pushed it to the ground. Wang Daoyuan immediately activated the 5 Elements Devil Suppression seal and smashed it in that direction. The Devil Vanquishing seal reached a height of more than 10 meters above the wolf and the corpse. It released a suppressive force to suppress the refined corpse. Roaring Tooth King immediately flashed away, and the evil Vanquishing seal landed heavily. The refined corpse wanted to dodge, but under the suppression, its movements were slowed down. Without waiting for it to get up, the Devil Vanquishing seal smashed down heavily. With a few cracking sounds, a hole appeared on the refined corpse's chest. The Devil Vanquishing seal smashed into its chest, breaking its sternum and ribs. Such a heavy injury was fatal to both humans and demonic beasts. But to the refined corpse, it only affected its strength slightly. With the 5 elements devil suppression seal pressing down on the refined corpse, it could not get up. Wang Daoyuan used his spiritual fire of life to burn the refined corpse. The vulture in the sky saw that the refined corpse had no strength to resist, and did not attack again. Instead, it flew directly in the direction of the Yellow Spring's secret realm. Although the vulture's refined corpse was not as agile as other demonic beasts, its speed was not inferior at all. Wang Daoyuan and the others could not catch up to it, so they simply let it go. The wounded Ming Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that his opponent was completely suppressed, Roaring Tooth King no longer cared about it, and turned to deal with the black bear. Wang Daoyuan recalled the Baifeng, and controlled his spiritual fire of life, to deal with the rank 4 intermediate corpse. Because the refined corpse's body had already been destroyed, his spiritual fire of life could directly burn it. In just half a cup of tea's time, the corpse chi and death chi were exhausted. The refined corpse's body was not much stronger than a golden core cultivator's. Wang Daoyuan formed a sword with his right hand, and gently waved it a few times. Several sword rays flew out, cutting off the refined corpse's 4 limbs and head. In the past few years, he had taken the time to comprehend the Tai sword diagram, and had made some progress in becoming one with the sword. He could now use some sword cultivation spells with his bare hands. On the other side, the 4 people surrounded the black bear. No matter how strong its body was, it could not hold on. Soon the black bear was cut into 8 pieces. Blood Fang King took out a black pearl about 3 inches in diameter from the black bear's head. This pearl emitted a strong corpse and death chi. Wang Daoyuan also recognized this item. It was called the corpse pill, which was the golden core used to refine corpses. If a refined corpse was fed with the corpse pill, it could help the refined corpse evolve. Cultivators who practiced evil Dao techniques could also directly absorb the corpse chi and death chi to improve their own cultivation. Most of them used the corpse pill to refine evil artifacts. Some evil cultivators even used it to refine their natal artifacts. Then, Blood Fang King took out 2 more corpse pills from the heads of the other 2 refined corpses. Unfortunately, these 2 refined corpses had been burned by Wang Daoyuan's spiritual fire of life for a long time, so there was not much corpse and death chi left in their corpse pills. Blood Fang King gave the 3 corpse pills to Wang Daoyuan. Daoyu, thanks to your help, we were able to kill these 3 refined corpses. Otherwise, we would have died at the hands of the refined corpses, and even our race would have been wiped out. We don't have anything good in our hands, so these 3 corpse pills all belong to Daoyu. Take it as a token of our appreciation. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly declined. The 4 Daoyu are all injured, and have paid a greater price than me. If I accept the corpse pills, I will feel bad. Hu Ling continued. Fellow Taoist Wang, you should just accept it. You've saved the lives of our entire clan. This is nothing. Roaring Tooth King and Ming Xian also tried to persuade him. Wang Daoyuan did not decline, and accepted the 3 corpse pills. Then he used the spiritual fire of life to heal the 4. Blood Fang King and Fox Spirit were only lightly injured and healed after being burned by the spiritual fire of life for a while. Roaring Tooth King was the last one to fall to the mid-grade rank 4 refined corpse. The refined corpse clawed a hole in his abdomen, injuring him the most. Wang Daoyuan took out the Azure Dragon Pearl, and healed Roaring Tooth King first. After half a cup of tea's time, the corpse and death chi in Roaring Tooth King's body were removed and his wounds healed. Ming Xian's injuries were all superficial, but there were many deep wounds. Her injuries were not light, but she did not need the Azure Dragon Pearl. Wang Daoyuan used the spiritual fire of life to envelop her, and slowly release his life force to dissolve the corpse and death chi in her wounds. Not long after, her wounds were healed. Wang Daoyuan withdrew the fire of life. Ming Xian stood up, took 2 steps forward and fell into Wang Daoyuan's arms. Looking at the disheveled beauty, Wang Daoyuan subconsciously supported her. Ming Xian burrowed into his arms and said, "Little brother Daoyuan, big sister suffered heavy internal injuries, and won't be able to recover in 8 to 10 years. Why don't you come to my Dark Fox tribe and heal me?" Wang Daoyuan had a helpless expression. Why was this fox half demon like her? She wanted to pull everyone into her tribe. She really wanted to improve the breed. He quickly pushed Ming Xian away and said with a smile, Ming Xian, Daoyu's breathing is stable and his injuries have healed. Now, he won't have a problem fighting with cultivators of the same level. If there are other injuries, please forgive me for not being able to help. Roaring Tooth King laughed at the side and said, Old witch, your charm is not enough. You took the initiative to throw yourself into his arms, and Daoyu didn't even like you. Ming Xian changed her soft voice and cursed at Roaring Tooth King at the top of her voice. Wang Daoyuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He advised, We've only killed 3 refined corpses, and there are still many of them at the Mirror Treasure Lake. You two should not be careless. In my opinion, you two should stop fighting for the time being and fight against the refined corpses together. Both of them felt that it was reasonable and stopped arguing. They only snorted at each other and stopped arguing. Chapter 554. Over at the Sky Beheading Mountain Range, the 4 refined corpses had been stuck in the Inchi Cave for several years, and the Mirror Treasure Lake had not sent any refined corpses to rescue them. Now that the refined corpses had suffered a setback here and suffered heavy losses, it was unlikely that they would continue to travel south. Wang Daoyuan bid farewell to everyone and prepared to return to Guiyuan Market. Ming Xian looked very reluctant and said, Brother Daoyuan, you should stay in my tribe for a few days, so that I can be a good host. Wang Daoyuan naturally could not agree. Zhou Wan's spies were not good at proper business, but they were definitely good at finding out which woman he had been in contact with. When he was in the capital of Zhou country, he was talking to the Wind Snow God Palace about the face-retaining pill business, and was scolded by Zhou Wan. In this small tribe, there was an 80% chance that Zhou Wan's spies were in it. This time, when he was helping Ming Xian heal her injuries, he was hugged by her again. He did not know what would happen when he returned. If he stayed in the Dark Fox tribe for a few more days, Guiyuan Market and Jade Spring Peak would probably be turned upside down. He declined. The administrator's residence is busy, and I have no time to deal with it these few days, so I won't stay for long. Everyone Daoyu farewell. In order to avoid Ming Xian's continued pestering, he left on a cloud and headed for Guiyuan Market. In the Yellow Spring Secret Realm, a black-robed old man sat cross-legged under the Yellow Spring Willow. This old man's skin was dry and black, and his movements were extremely uncoordinated. His body emitted black gas, but there was no trace of vitality. He was clearly not a living person. He spoke in a stiff and hoarse voice. I didn't expect that a little bug that came here more than 100 years ago would grow to this extent. Unfortunately, my physical body was still being nurtured in the Yellow Spring. My soul had not fully developed into a ghost body. Once I left the Yellow Spring Willow, all my previous efforts would be wasted, and I could not kill him. I didn't expect that in a short 100 years, he would grow into such a big problem. His natal magic tool seems to have the aura of the Yellow Spring Bead. More than 200 years ago, the Yellow Spring Bead and my inheritance were stolen by 2 little bugs. Now that the Yellow Spring Bead is in his hands, my inheritance should also be in his hands. With this kid here, we can't go south for the time being. Wang Daoyuan naturally did not know about these things. After he returned to Guiyuan City Square, he first went to the Guardian residence to check on the business situation of Guiyuan City Square. After all, he had already made a public appearance. It would be unreasonable if he did not pay the Guardian residence a visit after coming to returning Wild Goose City Square. After that, he concealed himself and went to the underground branch. After entering Zhou Wan's Immortals Cave, he had just closed the door of the Immortals Cave when a ball of flame came towards him. Wang Daoyuan immediately used the water dragon technique. A water dragon flew out and swallowed the flames. Then another ball of flame flew over. He used the water dragon prison to trap the fireball. Zhou Wan's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate the water dragon prison. The fireball inside went out of control and soon dissipated. A fiery red figure rushed over. This was naturally Zhou Wan. Wang Daoyuan was afraid of hurting her, so he withdrew the water dragon and condensed it into a water dragon armor. Zhou Wan stopped in front of him and pointed the sword in her hand at him. Then, she asked in a strange tone, Administrator, why didn't you stay in the Dark Fox tribe as a son-in-law? Otherwise, you could have married that vixen Ming Xian and brought her back to Jade Spring Peak. You could have gained a Dark Fox tribe for free. That's more than a dozen Violet Palace realm cultivators, and more than 100 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile. Hall Master, you must be joking. You are my official wife. Even 100 Dark Fox tribes can't compare to you. Zhou Wan's anger subsided a little. She asked, so you want to take in a concubine? Wang Daoyuan hurriedly denied. I definitely don't have that intention. Other women are mediocre compared to Hall Master. You also know what kind of character the half-demons of the Fox tribe have. When they see a capable human cultivator, they want to recruit him into their tribe. She took the initiative to throw herself at me. As a dignified gentleman, I naturally rejected her. Zhou Wan's expression returned to normal. When that vixen pretended to fall, you were quite nimble in holding her. How does it feel to hold that vixen? Wang Daoyuan subconsciously replied, not bad. Then he immediately corrected himself. It's not as comfortable as Hall Master's. Zhou Wan pointed the sword in her hand at Wang Daoyuan's waist and threatened. You dare to compare that vixen to me? You have guts. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. You're a scoundrel who attracts flies. Next time, if you dare to be ambiguous with other people, you'll have to bear the consequences. Wang Daoyuan finally let out a sigh of relief. This matter was finally over. He put away the water dragon. Hall Master, rest assured. I'm definitely not that kind of person. Don't mention those misunderstandings. Our cultivation is more important. Don't you still want to condense spiritual fire? That's the important thing. Then, he took out the flame of the red sun primordial fire from the space of the spiritual pearl and handed it to Zhou Wan. Zhou Wan put away her sword and took the red sun primordial fire. Reflect on yourself in the front yard for a few days. Without my orders, you're not allowed to enter the backyard. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to provoke her anymore. He obediently stayed in the front yard and thought about improving the sky ceiling sword prison. In the next few days, the news that Wang Daoyuan cooperated with the demons and half-demons to kill 3 refined corpses, and that the spiritual fire of life could restrain the refined corpses spread in the northern mountains. Many demon and half-demon tribes sent envoys to visit Wang Daoyuan in Beiyuan market. The news that refined corpses appeared near the Mirror Treasure Lake Oasis had spread throughout the northern mountains. A group of refined corpses entered the Sky Chop mountain range and killed 3 rank 4 demon beasts. More than 10 rank 4 demon beasts were helpless against them. The refined corpses ran everywhere. The demons and half-demons near the Mirror Treasure Lake Oasis were also afraid of being attacked by the refined corpses. It was better to familiarize themselves with Wang Daoyuan first, so that when they were attacked by the refined corpses in the future, it would be easier for them to ask him for help. Wang Daoyuan helped the Silver Fox tribe and the bloodthirsty Ash Wolves because they were the last barrier of Yunnan County. Once they were all killed or escaped, Yunnan County would have to face the refined corpses. Wang Daoyuan's subordinate forces were closely related to the Silver Fox, the other half-demon tribes, and the bloodthirsty Ash Wolves. Protecting them was the same as indirectly protecting his own territory. As for the other demons and half-demons, what did their lives have to do with him? The more the demons and half-demons in the northern mountains lost, the better. If the northern mountains were really empty, he could expand his forces there. Although the northern mountains were not as big as the Sky Chop mountain range, there were still many rank 3 and rank 4 spirit veins. When the demon and half-demon envoys arrived at the garrison of the Beiyuan market, Lu Yuan asked Wang Daoyuan about the arrangements. Wang Daoyuan asked him to chat with these envoys. He could accept their gifts, but he had to give them Dharma artifacts, pills, and other spiritual items in return. They could talk about feelings, but they could not make any promises. He did not make any promises or owe anyone favors. When the demons and half-demons came to ask him for help, he would not have a bad reputation if he rejected them. Lu Yuan was also an itinerant cultivator who had been in the northern mountains for 200 to 300 years. He could not be a fool to have survived until now. There were no problems in handling the affairs of the Beiyuan market in the past few years. It was naturally easy to fool the demons and half-demon envoys. There was no movement in the netherworld mystic realm. The demon beasts outside the Sky Chop mountain range in the east of Yin'an County also did not move. There was nothing for Wang Daoyuan to handle personally, so he was happy to be free. It was good to cultivate in the underground branch. There was no need to go elsewhere to find work. After staying in the front yard for half a month, Zhou Wan's anger finally subsided. Wang Daoyuan successfully entered the boudoir. A year later, Wang Daoyuan sat cross-legged on the carved bed. The spiritual power fluctuations on his body were getting stronger and stronger. This was a sign that he was about to break through the realm. Zhou Wan did not dare to disturb him, and guarded outside the door. The rank 3 low-grade spirit veins in the Beiyuan market were naturally not enough for an early-stage golden core cultivator to break through. Before the breakthrough, Wang Daoyuan drank a few jars of 100-year spiritual peach dew and a lot of rank 4 cloud hidden tea. At this time, he was still constantly extracting spirit energy from the space of the spiritual pearl. More than 10 days later, his body emitted 5 colors of green, yellow, red, gold, black, and white. The light lasted for a quarter of an hour, and then the light faded. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual power fluctuations were obviously strengthened, and his cultivation broke through to the mid-stage golden core. Chapter 555. After breaking through, Wang Daoyuan did not immediately get up. Instead, he took out a jar of 100-year spiritual peach dew and drank it all. He continued to meditate and consolidate his cultivation. After half a day, the spiritual power of the jar of wine was completely exhausted, and his cultivation was stabilized. Zhou Wan walked in and asked, "You formed your core later than me. When we dual cultivated, our cultivation progress was similar. I'm still some distance away from the middle stage of the Aurus core stage. How did you break through? When you weren't here, did you dual cultivate with other female cultivators?" Wang Daoyuan said helplessly, "Hall Master, you're really imagining things. When I wasn't here, I always stayed at the Jade Spring Peak. The Jade Spring Peak spiritual vein is a low-grade 4th-tier spiritual vein. Moreover, it's very close to middle-grade 4th-tier spiritual vein. It's much stronger than the spiritual vein in Beiyuan market. Besides, you usually have to comprehend and condense flexible secret techniques, so you have to put your mind elsewhere. My cultivation speed is slightly faster than yours. Isn't that normal?" In fact, the main reason why his cultivation speed was faster was because of the spiritual energy in the space of the spiritual pearl. There were 5 middle-grade 4th-tier spiritual veins in the space of the spiritual pearl. There was also the void outside the space as a backing, so the spiritual energy was endless. Now that he broke through, the space of the spiritual pearl did not change much. It was just that after the red-feathered crow's tribulation, the growth speed of the spiritual veins, the expansion speed of the spiritual fields, and the growth speed of time had increased. There were now 45 mu of spiritual fields, and the flow of time had increased to 41 times. The purple gold jade marrow fruit that he planted had also sprouted. For most of these 2 years, the scarlet young real fire seed fire was in Zhou Wan's hands. The space of the spiritual pearl was not affected much. After all, there was still the red-feathered crow. Its natal fire was even more powerful than the scarlet young real fire seed fire. Even if it leaked a little of its power, it was enough to maintain the balance of the 5 elements. When Zhou Wan heard this, she felt that it was somewhat reasonable, so she did not continue to ask. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Hall Master, since you think the cultivation speed is slow, then I'll help you cultivate." Zhou Wan did not have any intention to object. Wang Daoyuan carried her and put her on the bed. Just as he was about to take off his clothes, a communication jade talisman in his storage bag began to vibrate. He took out the jade talisman and read it. It was a message from his 5th granduncle. Zhongjingyang, the supreme elder of the Netherworld sect, had come to visit him in person. He said that he had an urgent matter to discuss with him. Now, Zhong Zhenyang was waiting at the administrator's mansion in Qingli City. Wang Daoyuan was so angry that he almost smashed the jade talisman. Wasn't this ruining his plans? Seeing his exasperated look, Zhou Wan asked, "What happened?" Why are you so angry? Wang Daoyuan replied, Zhong Xunyang of the underworld sect is looking for me. He really ruined my plans. Zhou Luan said with a smile. A good man's ambition is to travel far and wide. How can he ruin the important matter, because of personal feelings? Since he had something important to do, he should hurry over. In the past, Gu Wangzong would look for you if something happened to the Netherworld sect. This time, Zhong Xunyang had come in person. It should be something important. Take this Scarlet Young True Flame with you. You might have to fight with others. Without a spirit flame, your strength will be reduced. Wang Daoyuan originally wanted to refuse, but it was not easy to explain. He could only accept the Scarlet Young True Flame. After tidying up his clothes, he said with a smile, Hall Master, please wait for a while. After I settle the matter over there, I will come over to help you cultivate. After that, he left the underground branch and headed for Qingli City. When he arrived at the administrator's mansion in Qingli City, his fifth granduncle was receiving Zhong Xunyang in the meeting hall. Wang Daoyuan entered the meeting hall and cupped his hands. I wonder why the Supreme First Elder came in person. Zhong Xunyang smiled and said, This old man came here for two matters, one big and one small, one public and one private. Let's put public matters first. This public matter is also a big matter. Ever since Venerable Lei Yin said that the Divine Weapon Pavilion would not do business with the Song clan, the Song Nation had been in a lot of activity. Within the Song Nation, the Divine Weapon Pavilion only targeted the Song clan. The other subordinate factions of the Song clan could still do business with the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Song Yin was worried that in the long run, the Song clan's strength would decline, and the other 5 factions would become stronger. The Song Nation would fall apart again. Hence, he decided to strike first to gain the upper hand. Over the past few years, he has been hoarding all the resources of the Song Nation. Now he is recruiting cultivators from the other 5 factions and gathering them more than 2,500 kilometers south of Wuqing Pass. His goal is already very clear. He wants to attack Wuqing Pass again. At this point, Wang Daoyuan asked, Not to mention that the battle has not started yet. Even if it does, the Myriad Spirit sect will be holding it off first. I wonder why the Supreme First Elder is looking for me at this time? Zhong Xunyang answered, The Song Nation is going all out this time. Furthermore, Song Yen has managed the Song Nation well for the past 100 years. In the Song Nation, he can be said to be the one who keeps his word. The strength that the Song Nation can bring out now is definitely incomparable to that of 100 years ago. Even if the Myriad Spirit sect goes all out, they will not be able to hold off the Song Nation for long. If we want to hold off the Song Nation, the Netherworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace will have to contribute half of their strength to help the Myriad Spirit sect. The sect hopes that you can bring some of the people from the administrator's residence to Wuqing Pass first. These shameless words made Wang Daoyuan so angry that he almost laughed. The Netherworld sect had 7 golden core cultivators, but they wanted him to hold them off first. Song Yin was hated by his master because he dealt with him. If he joined the battle, would the Song Nation still want to kill him? With his master around, the other factions would not dare to come to Yunnan County to make trouble for him. However, if he went to Wuqing Pass of his own accord, it would be a different story. On the battlefield, life and death were predestined. It was normal for anyone to die in battle. This could not be used as an excuse to seek revenge. If he died in battle at Wuqing Pass, his master would have no reason to attack the Song family. Wang Daoyuan naturally would not fall for this trick. He cupped his hands and said, Supreme First Elder, I remember that my duty was to guard Yunnan County and defend the sect from the threat of the Sky Chop Mountain Range in Shanbei, right? Zhong Xunyang answered, This is indeed your duty. However, the administrator's residence is still a subordinate faction of the sect. Now that the sect needs you, it's reasonable for you to be temporarily transferred. Wang Daoyuan sneered. If the administrator's residence is safe and sound, it's reasonable for the sect to transfer me to another place. However, a year ago, I joined forces with half-demons and demons to kill 3 refined corpses that fled to the south. Who can guarantee that the refined corpses won't flee to the south in the future? A few years ago, 4 refined corpses entered the Sky Chop mountain range from the east. In the end, they were blocked by more than 10 rank 4 demons in a cave with dense yin qi. The demons did not dare to go down easily. Now both sides are in a deadlock. As far as I know, there are more than 10 refined corpses. 4 of them are trapped in the Sky Chop mountain range. 3 of them died in the hands of me, demons and half-demons. This is only half of them. The other half are still in their lairs. None of the 3 superior rank 4 corpses have come out yet. Once these 3 fellows and several superior rank 4 corpses come to Shanbei, who in the Netherworld sect can stop them? I'm afraid that you don't have the ability to subdue superior rank 4 corpses, right? At that time, several rank 4 corpses will wreak havoc. The Netherworld sect's hundreds of years of hard work will go down the drain. With me here, once the refined corpses invade the south, I can join forces with the demons and half-demons to stop them. My master will not sit by and do nothing. There's still a chance to stop the refined corpses. I hope that Grand Elder and Sect Master will not only look at the immediate benefits, but ignore the risks behind. Hearing this, Zhong Zhenyang fell into deep thought. It was indeed unreasonable to transfer Wang Daoyuan to Wuqing Pass. If Wang Daoyuan really wanted to go against it, there was nothing he could do. Otherwise, the Wang family wouldn't have grown so big. There were no benefits for the sect if they shed all pretense of cordiality. After all, Wang Daoyuan controlled an important trade route for the Netherworld sect. In these years, the sect had profited a lot from this trade route. If this trade route was cut off, the sect's losses would be huge. Zhong Zhenyang pondered for a long time before replying. We don't know much about the refined corpses. We didn't know that there were 3 superior rank 4 corpses. Now it seems that the sect has not thought it through. How about this? The sect will not conscript the cultivators of the administrator's residence. But you have to promise me one thing. Chapter 556. Although the Netherworld sect couldn't do anything to him, Wang Daoyuan didn't want to flip the table directly. The administrator's residence needed the Netherworld sect's resources to earn spirit stones. The Netherworld sect provided a year's supply of all kinds of Tier 1 and Tier 2 resources, which added up to 7 to 8 million spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan sold them to the Green Willow Province and Guiyuan Market, and he could earn more than 1 million spirit stones. Before the conditions to destroy the Netherworld sect were ripe, this source of income couldn't be cut off. He asked, "What are the conditions? Grand Elder can tell me directly. If I can agree, I will naturally agree. If I can't do it, I won't agree no matter what." Zhong Zhenyang smiled and said, "Administrator, don't worry. This condition isn't difficult. It's just that the war is imminent, and we need a lot of flying warships, Tier 3 and above artifacts, talismans, and so on. The sect wants to buy these things from the administrator's residence. Previously, Vice Sect Leader Gu also talked to you about flying warships. I can agree to your request on behalf of the sect." Wang Daoyuan put on a fake smile. "Now that you're begging me, you still want to follow the previous conditions. You're dreaming." He looked at Zhong Zhenyang and smiled. "You didn't agree to my conditions at the beginning. It's been more than 10 years, and the conditions should change. The sect sells the materials to me to refine flying warships. I can sell them to you at the price of 800,000 spirit stones each. The administrator's residence also has a large number of people to support, and they can't work for free. As for the quantity, at most 1 per year. There are too few craftsmen in the administrator's residence. Only the Wang family and the Yang family have Tier 3 craftsmen. If they use all the materials to refine flying warships, they can only take out 1 per year. However, the sect can't restrict the Wang family's flying warships and flying warships in the future. As for artifacts, talismans, and other resources, the administrator's residence's foundation is too weak. Without a stable Tier 3 spirit item output, it's impossible to sell them in large quantities." Zhong Zhenyang thought for a while, and didn't intend to bargain on these trivial matters. The previous restrictions were also useless. He nodded and said, "I can agree to these conditions, but can you refine a Type 4 flying warship? If you can refine it, the sect will send someone to assist you. The materials will also be provided by the sect. If you refine a low-grade 4th-grade flying warship, we will give you 10 million spirit stones. The refining method of a low-grade Tier 4 flying warship was different from that of a Tier 3 flying warship, where everyone knew the refining method. In the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian, only the 4 top powers and a few first-rate and second-rate countries could produce it. The Netherworld sect did not even have a decent Tier 4 blacksmithing legacy, let alone a Tier 4 flying warship. Wang Daoyuan did not have the crafting method for a Type 4 flying warship. There was no mention of flying warships in the inheritance left behind by the ancestral masters. He shook his head and said, "You're making things difficult for me. The refinement method of a Tier 4 flying warship is definitely not leaked to the outside world. Although I have obtained Master's refining legacy, I do not know how to refine a Type 4 flying warship." Zhong Zhenyang sighed and said, "Then that's it. Since we're done talking about official matters, let's talk about private matters. How many corpse cores did you get from the 3 refined corpses? I can buy them at a high price." Zhong Zhenyang was not young and should be around 900 years old. There was no point in cultivating with corpse borrowing pills. Moreover, the corpse core's grade was too low and had limited use for late-stage golden core cultivators. Wang Daoyuan asked, "You're already a late-stage golden core cultivator, so there's not much difference between peak and late-stage golden core cultivators. What do you want it for?" Zhong Zhenyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I'm already buried up to my neck. Why would I waste something like this? I want this corpse core for my useless grandson. There are no outstanding figures in the Zhong clan's younger generation. The only one who has cultivated to the peak of the Violet Palace realm is my grandson, Zhong Yaoting. But he's already over 400 years old, and his talent is not at the top. There's no hope for him to form a core on his own. I'm afraid that the Zhong clan will not have any descendants after I die, so I want him to use the corpse core's power to form a core." A corpse core formed by a 4th-grade refined corpse was similar to a golden core. It wasn't impossible for a cultivator who cultivated with death chi and corpse chi to form a core by force. However, the price was a bit high. Using this to form a core would harm one's foundation. After forming a core, it would be much more difficult to take a step forward. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't have any objections. The corpse core was just a decoration in his hands, and it wasn't bad to use it to exchange for something. As for the side effects, he didn't care about the Zhong clan's matters. He smiled and replied, "The 3 corpse cores are in my hands, but 2 of them have consumed too much death chi and corpse chi. The only one that is intact is a low-grade 4th-grade one. May I know what you can take out to exchange for it?" Zhong Zhenyang smiled mysteriously and took out 2 pages made of animal skin. Wang Daoyuan took the pages and secretly mobilized the dark sound soul-burying bell to protect his Violet Palace realm in case there were any tricks. Only then did he release his spiritual sense to check. There weren't any tricks in the pages. The content recorded on the first page was very simple, only the 4 words "Essence of Divine Powers." The second page was introductory and recorded the origin of the Essence of Divine Powers. This was the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts. Back in the day, the Valley of Beasts raised a large number of demon beasts with divine beast bloodlines. When demon beasts with a high concentration of divine beast bloodlines broke through to the 4th grade, they would undergo a bloodline heavenly tribulation and awaken minor divine powers. The Valley of Beasts wanted to explore the mysteries of minor divine powers by studying these demon beasts with minor divine powers. This essence of divine powers was the result of their exploration. The essence of divine powers could increase a cultivator's chances of comprehending minor divine powers. This kind of inheritance was a treasure to any force. Wang Daoyuan asked in surprise, "Why didn't you give this to the sect and give it to me instead?" Zhong Zhenyang sighed. "What good would it do for the Zhong clan if I gave it to the sect? Although the Luo, Zhong, Gu, and Ming clans are all local families, there are still differences between us. The 4 clans have been passed down for thousands of years, and all of them have their own treasures. This essence of divine powers isn't as powerful as you think. It only points the way for golden core cultivators to comprehend minor divine powers. How far you can go depends on your own ability. My Zhong clan has had this essence of divine powers for more than 3,000 years. In these 3,000 years, the Zhong clan has produced more than 10 golden core cultivators. However, only 3 of them have minor divine powers, and one of them is me. You have excellent talent. With this essence of divine powers, the chances of you comprehending minor divine powers are very high. I want to use this essence of divine powers to exchange for the 3 corpse cores in your hands. What do you think? Wang Daoyuan really didn't know that Zhong Zhenyang had minor divine powers, and was secretly shocked. A golden core late-stage cultivator with minor divine powers couldn't be compared to an ordinary person. Wang Daoyuan had broken through to the middle stage of golden core, and could defeat ordinary golden core late-stage cultivators. However, to deal with a golden core late-stage cultivator with minor divine powers, he could at most retreat. He asked, "Even if it's as you said, the value of this essence of divine powers is not low. Are you willing to give it to me?" Zhong Zhenyang said self-deprecatingly, "Your appetite is too big. I can't take out a living 4th-rank spiritual plant. If there is no golden core cultivator among the younger generation, this thing can't be kept. It's better to take a gamble and exchange it for corpse cores. My Zhong clan doesn't have any conflict with you. This is also a good karma. When you become strong, please take care of my Zhong clan's younger generation." Wang Daoyuan naturally knew what he meant. This old fox saw his potential and wanted to bet on both sides. If the Netherworld sex ship sank, he could still have a way out. He took out 3 black beads and said, "Well said, the 3 corpse cores I got are all here." Zhong Zhenyang used his divine sense to scan them, and nodded with satisfaction. He took out a thick beast skin book. After obtaining the essence of divine powers, Wang Daoyuan used the dark sound soul-burying bell to protect his Zifu before releasing his divine sense to check. This beast skin book had more than 100 pages. Only 10 pages recorded the techniques to comprehend minor divine powers. The rest were all successful examples. Chapter 557. Wang Daoyuan flipped through a few of them and found them interesting. The essence of the divine ability wasn't made up, regardless of whether these examples were real or fake. The method of comprehending the charm with the help of the Purple Mansion phenomenon was very similar to Zhou Wan's secret method. Zhou Wan also said that the secret method of comprehending the charm was created by herself. Now, it seemed that she had obtained the incomplete inheritance of the Valley of Beasts. Wang Daoyuan was unhappy. She said that she created the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts herself. "I thought she was unfathomable. Once I'm done with this, I'll punish her." Zhong Zhenyang carefully checked the 3 corpse cores and was very satisfied. He asked, "There's no problem with the corpse cores. Are you satisfied with the essence of the divine ability?" Wang Daoyuan nodded. "It's really good. This thing can't be created by ordinary forces. It should be the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts." Zhong Zhenyang smiled. "Since there's no problem, I won't stay any longer. In the future, the materials for the flying warship will be transported to Qingli Market." Wang Daoyuan stood up and cupped his hands. "Farewell, Grand Supreme Elder." After Zhong Zhenyang left, he didn't rush back to Guiyan Market. Song wasn't peaceful. Another war was about to begin. His family had to prepare for war. In the past few years, the 3 sects of Zhao had become stronger. The Netherworld sect had gained another golden core cultivator. In the Cruel Sun Palace, Tu Yoming's master, Taoist Qi Yuan, had already passed away. However, there was another peak Purple Mansion realm cultivator who had formed his golden core. The total number of golden core cultivators didn't change. The oldest and strongest of the Myriad Spirit sect, Taoist Yulong, still had a few decades to live. There was only one peak Purple Mansion realm cultivator. The number of golden core cultivators had increased by 1. Now there were 9 golden core cultivators. This was the strength on the surface. In fact, it was hard to say if there were any hidden golden core cultivators. In the past 100 years, there hadn't been any war. The number of Purple Mansion realm and Foundation establishment cultivators had increased by a lot. The state of Zhao was a first-rate country, and its resources were abundant. Before the rebellion of the 3 major sects, The imperial family of the state of Zhao had over 30 golden core cultivators, not to mention the Violet Palace and Foundation establishment cultivators. Right now, the number of Jindan and Zifu disciples in the state of Zhao was only a third of what it had been in the past. There was a lot of room for growth. Wang Daoyuan wasn't too sure about the Myriad Spirit Sect and the Cruel Sun Palace, but the Netherworld Sect had a net increase of more than 20 Zifu disciples and 300 Foundation establishment disciples. Ever since the Song Kingdom was defeated at Wuqing Pass over 100 years ago, they had suffered heavy losses in their Zifu Realm Foundation establishment cultivators. Furthermore, the Song Nation's resources could not be compared to the Zhao Nation's. Even if the Song Nation's strength increased, the increase was not as great as the Zhao Nation's. The only advantage was that Song Yan had strong control over the Song Nation, allowing him to bring out most of its potential. It wasn't like the state of Zhao, which was divided into 3 factions that schemed against each other. When facing enemies, they had to be wary of their allies. Being able to unleash 40 to 50% of one's full strength was already considered pretty good. Although the possibility of the state of Song directly breaking through Wuqing Pass wasn't high, Wang Daoyuan had to be cautious. The 3 major sects didn't only have the state of Song as their opponent, but also the remaining imperial family of Zhao. The 9th Prince's faction was more stable and wouldn't make a move easily. However, the 6th Prince and Lord Linhai weren't people who could endure loneliness. The 6th Prince's faction in the state of Song was the Zhao family. Once Wuqing Pass was in danger, the 6th Prince's faction would definitely make a move. The Guiyuan Sword sect in Shanbei had been pretending to be obedient all these years, but the 6th Prince's faction was very willing to invest in Shanbei. Although he didn't like the Netherworld sect, the Netherworld sect was still stronger than the 6th Prince. They wanted to take advantage of the situation, but they were all cowards and didn't dare to use force. As long as they could make a profit, they could still do business. In addition, the 3 major sects in the state of Zhao were restraining each other, so the Netherworld sect didn't dare to play with him. The 6th Prince was a self-righteous fool. If Wang Daoyuan publicly called him a long-legged prince, he would definitely use his power to take revenge. If he defeated the 3 major sects and regained power in the state of Zhao, the Wang family would suffer. No matter how the situation changed in the future, they could only protect themselves if they were strong enough. In the next few years, the situation in the state of Zhao would change a lot. Wang Daoyuan's family needed to increase their strength as soon as possible. At this moment, the 5th great-uncle walked in. He couldn't stay here when the 2 Golden Core Realm practitioners were discussing. The 5th great-uncle asked, "Why did Zhong Jinyang come here?" Wang Daoyuan answered, "If the state of Song wants to make trouble, the Thousand Spirit sect won't be able to stop it. The Netherworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace need to send reinforcements. Those bastards from the Netherworld sect wanted to make the Wang family a scapegoat, but I refused." After bargaining for a long time, the Wang family finally sold them a 3rd-level lower-grade flying warship for 800,000 spirit stones a year. "We can still make a lot of spirit stones. Besides, the Netherworld sect will sell us the materials to make the flying warship in the future." Hearing this, the 5th great-uncle said with a smile, "It seems that we didn't lose anything. Instead, we took advantage of them." Wang Daoyuan shook his head and said, "It's not that simple. The state of Song wants to fight with all their might. They won't be easy to deal with. Once the 3 major sects suffer heavy losses, the 6th Prince will definitely come out to make trouble. If they win, the Wang family won't have a good time in the future. No matter which side we choose in the future, we can't be too weak. We have to increase our strength as soon as possible. The 12th uncle is not far from the peak of the Violet Palace realm. If he's lucky, he'll have a chance to form his core in 10 years. You should cultivate to the peak of the Violet Palace realm as soon as possible. I'll try my best to prepare some treasures for you to form your core." The 12th uncle had an 8-inch and 7-inch water spiritual root. His physical body and spiritual energy had reached the standard of forming his core. He didn't need any spiritual objects, but his success rate was high. The 5th great-uncle's spiritual root was less than 8 inches, and he still had 3 spiritual roots. Without the help of spiritual objects, the success rate of forming his core should be less than 50%. The jade needle white Yusung in the spiritual pearl space couldn't be counted on. Even if it could form his core on time, it would take more than 100 years to take effect. At that time, he could secretly kill a 4th-grade demonic beast and use its golden core to refine elixirs that could assist in forming his core. The 5th great-uncle smiled bitterly. My talent is far inferior to Shui's, and I've wasted a lot of resources over the years. I'm still a step away from the late stage of the Violet Palace realm. If you have any resources, you should use them on Shui. There's no need to waste them on me. Wang Daoyuan took out 100 purple rhyme pills and 5 caddies of 3rd-grade cloud tea. Don't worry, I have plenty of resources. Among the clansmen, apart from the 12th uncle, you're the one with the highest chance of forming your core. Dezhao might be talented, but he's still too young. It'll take him another 200 years to form his core. You're the most suitable person to form your core. The 5th great-uncle took the items and said, Then I'll try to form my core before the battle of life and death. At that time, the clan will have 3 golden core cultivators. We should be able to protect ourselves. On the surface, the Wang family only had 1 golden core cultivator, but in reality, they had 4 golden core cultivators. Unfortunately, Wang Daoyuan was the only one who could show his face. After settling the matters of the administrator's mansion, Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Spring Peak and explained the clan's matters to his 3rd brother. The 3 Peak Foundation establishment cultivators in the clan had to establish their Violet Palace realm as soon as possible, especially his little uncle Wang Shouja. After establishing his Violet Palace realm, his spiritual sense would be strengthened, and the speed at which he could refine the flying warship would increase greatly. The matter of clansmen exchanging foundation establishment pills also had to be opened up. As long as their spiritual roots exceeded 5 inches, or their attainments in pill refining, smithing, and talisman formations reached the 2nd grade, they would be allowed to borrow contribution points to exchange for foundation establishment pills. A resource like foundation establishment pills was worthless if it wasn't used. The more foundation establishment cultivators the clan had, the more power it would have. As for himself, he had to improve his talisman crafting skills as soon as possible. With the tool talisman inheritance from his master, he didn't lack 4th-grade materials for refining tools. As long as his talisman crafting and tool refining skills reached the low-grade 4th grade, he would be able to refine 4th-grade talismans. After the 5th great-uncle and the 12th uncle formed their cores, each of them would have the strength of 2 or 3 early-stage golden core cultivators with a few talismans each. This was the best way to increase the clan's strength in a short period of time. Lesser divine abilities were too elusive. Even if one had the essence of a divine ability, comprehending a lesser divine ability was a matter of luck. Chapter 558. After settling these matters, Wang Daoyuan did not immediately return to Yamfang City. Instead, he stayed at Yuchuan Peak to see what results these measures would bring. Of course, he did not idle around. He began to improve his talisman crafting skills. Ever since he established his Violet Palace, he had only crafted a few golden lightning demon destroying talismans. After that, he rarely crafted talismans. His talisman crafting skills had stagnated at lower tier 3 for nearly 100 years. The 6 mu of blood dragon, wood and the spiritual pearl, had already grown to middle tier 3. There were also a few that had successfully broken through their limits after absorbing 2 golden core lightning tribulations. They had grown to upper tier 3 spiritual wood. Spiritual plants that could break through their limits would definitely have a bright future. The seeds they bore would also have greater potential. Some of them might grow to upper tier 3 and form a new breed of spiritual plants. If the upper tier 3 blood dragon wood was old enough, its bark might be able to be used to make lower tier 4 talisman paper. The quality of the charcoal made from the tree trunk would also be higher. Naturally, these few trees could not be cut down and used to breed new blood dragon wood. The rest could be chopped down and used to make upper tier 3 talisman paper. Over the years, the clan had stored a lot of lower tier 3 spiritual ink and did not lack anything. First, he used the lower Tier 3 talisman paper to craft a few golden lightning demon-destroying talismans. Although he did not craft talismans often, he relied on his mid-golden core cultivation and spiritual sense cultivation that was comparable to a late golden core cultivator. After a few days of adaptation, his success rate increased to 60%. The golden lightning demon-destroying talismans that he had exchanged with the Foundation Establishment Pill from the Shen family back then ranged from lower Tier 3 to upper Tier 3. Since he was familiar with crafting talismans, he could use it to improve his talisman crafting skills. With his spiritual sense cultivation, he could craft lower Tier 3 talismans 10 to 20 times a day without much pressure. His spiritual sense was strong enough, and he had a foundation in formations. His skills improved very quickly. In just a year, his success rate of crafting upper Tier 3 talismans had reached upper Tier 3. Now he had more than 200 lower Tier 3 golden lightning demon-destroying talismans, 500 middle tier, and 300 upper tier talismans. The results were remarkable, but he had consumed a lot of lower Tier 3 spiritual ink, and more than half of the talisman paper. These talismans were enough to send all the local and foreign Violet Palace realm cultivators of the underworld sect away. On the other side of Wuqing Pass, the Song State had finished assembling. Now both sides were fighting on a small scale, testing each other. During this year, the clan opened up the supply of Foundation Establishment pills, and more than 10 cultivators reached the Foundation Establishment realm. There was no telling when the war would break out, and the Wang family's current preparations were still insufficient. Once the two sides fought, and the sixth prince's bloodline stirred things up behind the scenes, it was very likely that a golden core battle would break out. Their current Jindan battle prowess was still not enough. If they did not expose the 3 hidden Jindan battle prowess, the Wang family still did not have the ability to protect themselves. Wang Daoyuan planned to raise his talisman crafting and equipment refining level to 4th tier low grade in one go, and then refine more sky ceiling sword prison talismans. At this time, more than 500 kilometers to the southeast of the 100 River Lake, more than 30 cultivators of the Demon Execution Division of the Administrator's Office were hiding themselves, preparing to ambush a rank 3 demon beast. About 30 miles to the east of them, 2 demonic beasts were fighting. The 2 demonic beasts were both 3rd level lower grade demonic beasts. One of them was a 3rd level lower grade golden tiger, with a body length of 50 to 60 feet. The other was a white ape with a height of more than 10 feet. There was a bulge between the ape's eyebrows, and it looked like it was about to grow a horn. Both of them were not good-tempered, and for some reason they were fighting. The golden tiger emitted a golden light all over, while the white ape's fists flickered with blue electric light. The golden tiger pounced, and the white ape easily dodged the attacks by relying on its nimble body. From time to time, it would greet the golden tiger with its fists. In less than 100 breaths of time, the golden tiger had been punched more than 10 times, while the white ape was unharmed. The golden tiger knew that it was no match for the white ape, and wanted to escape. However, the thunder ape flashed with electric light, and used an escape technique. It appeared in front of the golden tiger in an instant, and sent it flying with a punch. The golden tiger knew that it could not escape at this time, so it let out a tiger roar, and then its spiritual power erupted. It pounced on the white ape, ready to fight to the death. Electric light flickered on the white ape's right arm, and a blue arm shadow more than 10 feet long appeared. The arm shadow threw a punch, and the golden tiger flashed with golden light, and was sent flying more than 100 feet. After falling to the ground, it did not even struggle and died. The white ape disdainfully dispersed the arm shadow, and with a light leap, it arrived next to the golden tiger's corpse. It picked it up, and put it into the spirit beast pouch at its waist. There was a vine tied around its waist, and 3 storage pouches hung from the vine. After putting away the golden tiger's corpse, the white ape continued to head west. The cultivators of the Monster Execution Department were lying in ambush in the direction it was heading. At this time, several Peak Foundation establishment cultivators were communicating with each other. A thin and shrewd cultivator asked, "This white ape is very strong. The two of us might not be its match, and there might even be casualties. Why don't we retreat first? A burly man with a full beard answered. Wealth comes from danger. This white ape has 3 storage pouches, and it just put a golden tiger inside. There's definitely a lot of good stuff. Moreover, it's a lightning attribute demonic beast. If we can capture it alive with a formation, and offer it to the administrator, we'll probably get a big reward. There's so many of us. Why should we be afraid of a beast? As soon as these words were said, the other cultivators were also tempted. They had already set up a formation more than 300 feet ahead. With the help of a third-grade formation and a few third-grade magic tools, it was very likely that they would be able to take down a third-grade low-grade demonic beast. Moreover, there were still cultivators from the War Department behind them, and they had a third-grade low-grade flying warship. The others no longer objected, and unanimously agreed to do this. Soon, the white ape entered the formation they had set up. They were all wearing spirit-restricting silk cloaks, so the white ape did not notice anything wrong. Suddenly, a fiery red light barrier appeared around it, and it kept releasing fire attribute attacks. The other cultivators also took out third-grade magic tools to attack. The white ape dodged several attacks and lightning flashed all over its body. A moment later, a giant blue ape shadow more than 300 feet tall appeared out of thin air. The giant ape shadow punched the ground, and blue lightning covered a radius of 500 feet. With a series of cracking sounds, the fiery red light barrier disappeared, and the formation plates buried in the ground all shattered. The cultivators who were lying in ambush several hundred feet away were also forced to reveal themselves to avoid the lightning attacks. The white ape's face was full of anger, and it jumped into the air, pouncing on the cultivators. Seeing this, the cultivators did not dare to resist, and they all fled on their swords. However, the white ape was still relentless in its pursuit. A late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator of the Wang family took out a flying warship, and it enlarged to more than 10 feet long. He called a few cultivators from the War Department to board the ship, and they controlled the flying warship to resist the white ape's attacks. Seeing him, the white ape stopped chasing. A third-grade ape-type demonic beast could not speak, but it had no problem transmitting sound. It transmitted its voice to the Wang family cultivator. Mingxing, don't be afraid. I'm the Thunder Ape. This late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator was called Wang Mingxing, a cultivator with 3 spiritual roots. His main spiritual root was a 7-inch fire spiritual root. When he was in the early stage of Foundation establishment, he was stationed at Fallen Dragon Ridge all year round. Before the Thunder Ape broke through to the 3rd grade, it had always stayed at Fallen Dragon Ridge, so it could naturally recognize him. However, he was later transferred to another place, and he never saw the Thunder Ape again. After the Thunder Ape broke through to the 3rd grade, it changed too much, so he could not recognize it. Now that the Thunder Ape transmitted its voice, he did not doubt that ordinary demonic beasts would not know his name. He shouted, "Everyone, there's no need to run. This is the spiritual beast Thunder Ape raised by 7th Uncle. It's really a flood rushing against the Dragon King's temple." Seeing that Wang Mingxing recognized it, the Thunder Ape also shrunk its body to the size of an ordinary person and extended a hand to him. Everyone in the Wang family knew what the Thunder Ape meant by this action. Wang Mingxing took out a jar of wine and threw it to it. The Thunder Ape received the jar of wine and drank it in one gulp, then laughed loudly. Everyone was relieved, and they landed on the ground again. Since the formation plates were already broken, they could no longer continue hunting, and everyone returned to Clear Glass City. The Thunder Ape rode on Wang Mingxing's flying warship and arrived at Jade Spring Peak. Chapter 559. As soon as the flying warship approached Jade Spring Peak, Wang Daoyuan sensed it and discovered the Thunder Ape with a sweep of his divine sense. Although it had changed a lot, the characteristics of its spirit power fluctuations and its soul had not changed. Spirit beasts did not have a purple mansion to protect their souls, so high-level cultivators could directly observe their souls. This fellow had gone deep into the heavenly/mountain range to search for spirit items to brew wine. Now that it had returned to Jade Spring Peak, It had most likely found everything. The Thunder Ape landed on Jade Spring Peak and went straight to Wang Daoyuan's cave abode. Its figure was similar to an ordinary person, and it was brought back by the flying warship, so it did not cause panic among the clansmen. After it entered the cave abode, Wang Daoyuan took out a jar of 100-year-old spirit peach dew and gave it to it. The Thunder Ape took the wine jar and drank it in one gulp. After this fellow broke through, its alcohol tolerance had increased, and it did not have any reaction after drinking a jar of wine. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Have you gathered all the recipes for brewing wine?" The Thunder Ape nodded and took out 2 storage bags from its waist, pouring out the contents. One of the storage bags contained more than 20 kinds of second-grade spirit herbs. These spirit herbs were relatively rare and not very valuable. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Are these the ingredients for brewing wine?" The Thunder Ape nodded again. It might not know about other things, but it was an expert when it came to brewing wine. In these years in Fallen Dragon Ridge, it had done 2 proper things. One was hunting demon beasts, and the other was brewing wine. When it came to brewing wine, it would definitely do as it wished. In the other storage bag, there were more than 30 kinds of spirit fruits and spirit herbs. Most of them were second-grade spirit fruits that strengthened one's blood essence, divine sense, and cultivation. There were 3 types of third-grade spirit herbs, and all of them were third-grade high-grade. They were the phoenix blood fruit that strengthened one's blood essence, the 9-leaf ghost grass that strengthened one's divine sense, and the dragon saliva dew grass that increased one's cultivation. These 3 third-grade spirit herbs were extremely rare. When Wang Daoyuan was in the Violet Mansion realm, he had also put up a bounty in the clan, but unfortunately, he did not find any. Finally, there was a 4th-grade spirit herb called the astral fruit. The astral fruit had a high growth rate. When the fruit tree grew to 3rd-grade high-grade, it would begin to bear fruit. If the environment was suitable, it could grow to 4th-grade high-grade. This thing only grew at the peak of a mountain. During the process of its growth, it needed to absorb the power of the stars. However, the growth and advancement of the fruit tree didn't require the power of the stars. Therefore, the seeds could be planted in the space of the spiritual pearl. When the fruit tree grew up, it would be transplanted to an environment that could receive the power of the stars, allowing it to bear fruit. Using these things to brew wine, drinking them would have a very strong effect on increasing one's cultivation. Moreover, one's physical body, divine sense, and spiritual energy would all improve. The star spirit fruit was a rank 4 spirit plant, so this wine could also be considered a rank 4 spirit wine. According to his master, the power of the stars contained both yin and yang, and could contain the 5 elements. If he could use the power of the stars to temper his body, it would be easier for him to break through the yuanying. There were so many types of phase in the spirit wine's recipe, and it was inevitable that there would be a conflict of medicinal properties. By using the astral spirit fruit, he should be making use of the astral energy's characteristic of containing the 5 elements to avoid the conflict of medicinal properties. The spirit wine brewed with these materials should also have some effect of tempering the body with the power of the stars. It could improve the physical body, soul, and spiritual power in all aspects. Dozens of spiritual items would not conflict with each other. This kind of spiritual wine could not be brewed by ordinary spiritual beasts. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Did you awaken some inherited memories?" The Thunder Ape was at a loss, and then it asked, "What are inherited memories?" Wang Daoyuan answered, "It's when you suddenly know something you have never learned or experienced before." The Thunder Ape nodded and replied telepathically, "A little. I suddenly found out how to brew this spirit wine." He was now certain that the spirit wine's recipe should have come from the Horned Thunder Ape. Although the Horned Thunder Ape was not a divine beast, it was still one of the top races below divine beasts. Some demonic beasts with divine beast bloodlines might not be a match for the Horned Thunder Ape in a battle of the same level. As for how much the Thunder Ape could grow, it was hard to say. Although he had gathered all the phase needed to brew the wine, he still had to ask how much of each phase should be used. These phase were all rather precious, and he could not bear to use them to test the ratio of the phase. Wang Daoyuan asked, "How much of each phase should be used?" With regards to the spirit wine, there was nothing the Thunder Ape couldn't understand. It transmitted a message and explained the ratio of each fey. In the Spirit Pearl's space, 2 Yoming's clone memorized everything. Some of these fays were already in the Spirit Pearl's space and could be ignored. The rest of the fays needed to be planted in the Spirit Pearl's space. The Spirit Farm's area had increased by 3 mu in the past few years. Now he had not planted anything, but he had planted all the grade 2 fays that the Thunder Ape brought back. As for the Phoenix Blood Fruit and Dragon Saliva Dew Grass, there were fewer seeds. There were even 2 Star Spirit Fruits and 2 seeds. He would first plant them in the reserved Spirit Farm, near the Life Spirit Fire. In the future, when there were more seeds, he would plant them in other places. There were quite a lot of good things in this reserved Spirit Farm, and they were all grade 3 and grade 4 spiritual herbs. The 9-leaf Nether Soul Grass was an exception. It could only grow in places with densine energy, and it had to be planted near the Gui Water Nether Flame. After arranging the spiritual herbs, the Thunder Ape had a longing expression. Wang Daoyuan naturally knew what it wanted. He took out 10 jars of century-old spirit peach dew and handed them to it. The demonic beasts at the east end of Fallen Dragon Ridge are more active. Yini can't handle them. Go over there and watch the territory. In the future, there will be clansmen sending you spirit wine every month. To the Thunder Ape, there was wine to drink and fights to fight. This was the most perfect ape life. After storing the spirit wine into the storage bag at its waist, it eagerly left Wang Duan's cave abode and went to find its third brother, Wang Daochang. When it arrived at Wang Daochang's side, it took out the golden patterned tiger's corpse from the spirit beast bag and extended its hand. Wang Daochang also took out a few jars of wine from the storage bag and handed them to the Thunder Ape. Looking at its proficiency, it was likely that it had done this many times in the past. The Thunder Ape's awakened memories were also incomplete. For example, it didn't know the name of this spirit wine. Wang Daoyuan named this spirit wine 100 fruit wine. Of the spiritual items brought back by the Thunder Ape, the Tier 2 spiritual items were still alright. But for the Tier 3 spiritual items and the Star Spirit Fruit, it would take up to 1,000 years from the seed to the fruit. It would take another few hundred years for the spirit fruit to ripen. Even with the time flow block in the space of the spirit bead, it would still take a few decades to brew wine. Next, not only did he have to improve his talisman crafting skills, but he also had to improve his weapon crafting skills. Whether it was crafting weapon talismans or sword talismans, he needed to be at least Tier 4 low-grade weapon crafting skills. To craft Tier 4 spirit talismans, he needed Tier 4 talisman paper or other materials. If he used Tier 4 talisman paper, he would need Tier 4 spirit ink and talisman brush. These things were nowhere to be found. He could only improve his weapon crafting skills to Tier 4 low-grade first, and craft the embryonic forms of sword talismans and weapon talismans before improving his talisman crafting skills. During the Golden Core ceremony, the Divine Weapon Pavilion gave him 2,000 kilograms of Tier 4 low-grade materials. These materials were definitely not enough to craft a flying warship, but it was more than enough to craft sword talismans and weapon talismans. He used a year to successfully craft a Tier 4 low-grade magic weapon, and became a Tier 4 low-grade weapon craftsman. He could also craft the embryonic form of sword talismans. Sword talismans and weapon talismans were a bit similar. They both needed to craft a Tier 4 spirit talisman embryonic form, and then inscribe runes. Moreover, both of them could be used repeatedly to replenish spirit power. The difference was that the sword talisman was slightly less difficult to craft. Especially a few years ago, he had been comprehending the Heaven Sealing Sword Prison, and had a better understanding of the Heaven Sealing Sword Prison talisman. The success rate of crafting it was higher. The weapon talisman was created by his own ancestor, by combining magic talismans and weapon crafting skills. The runes of magic talismans were the most complicated of the 3 major schools. It was very difficult to inscribe complex runes on a Tier 4 magic weapon. Of course, weapon talismans were not completely useless. When the weapon talisman's spirit power was exhausted, it could be used again as long as the spirit power of the corresponding attribute was replenished. And when the sword talisman's spirit power was exhausted, only sword cultivators could replenish it. Moreover, it was not simply spirit power that was replenished, but sword qi and the sword intent that one had comprehended. Wang Daoyuan's talisman crafting skills and weapon crafting skills were not enough. It was better to practice with sword talismans that were of lower difficulty. Chapter 560. The sword talisman's name wasn't just because it could release sword cultivator spells. The sword talisman itself was a special flying sword. If the sword talisman prototype was made larger, it would be a magic longsword. However, the resonance between the runes was relatively weak. If the sword talisman prototype was made the size of a normal longsword, the runes wouldn't resonate with each other and wouldn't be effective. Therefore, the sword talisman prototype had to be reduced to a few inches. The heaven-sealing sword prison talisman was only 3 inches long. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to inscribe a complete set of runes on such a small material. It was impossible to refine without the power of a golden core stage spiritual sense. The sword talisman prototype's small size increased the difficulty of refining, but it also had an advantage in that it saved materials. For a poor person like Wang Daoyuan, grade 4 materials were too hard to come by. Refining a grade 4 magic tool required at least a few kilograms of materials. Refining a sword talisman only required a few taels. Refining sword talismans was similar to refining tool talismans. First, the spirit talisman prototype, which was a small grade 4 magic tool, was refined. Then the runes were inscribed on the magic tool. If a very small magic tool had both tool and runes, it would easily conflict with each other. This was a bit like the core of a flying warship, except that tool and formation runes coexisted. The processing methods could also be used for reference. Both involved inscribing runes, embedding metal threads, and sealing the runes with metal powder. Refining sword talismans required a lot less work, but it was especially difficult. With Wang Daoyuan's skill, refining a sword talisman required more than 10 days. After refining, more than half of his spiritual sense would be consumed. If the refinement failed, he would lose everything. He used half a year and failed more than 10 times before finally refining the first heaven-sealing sword prison talisman. Then he used another half a year to refine 3 sword talismans. Including the one he exchanged in Zhou, he had a total of 5 heaven-sealing sword prison talismans. He didn't intend to continue refining them. The only person in the clan who could replenish sword qi was himself. If he had more sword talismans, replenishing sword qi would be a waste of time. With 5 sword talismans, the other cultivators of the Wang clan would have the ability to deal with early golden core cultivators. If an early Aurus core stage cultivator were to use this sword talisman, it would not be impossible to severely injure an intermediate Aurus core stage cultivator. After refining sword talismans for a year, Wang Daoyuan's level of refining weapons and making talismans had greatly improved. Now he could try to refine talismans. While he was in the middle of comprehending, the faint aura of a golden core cultivator came from several hundred kilometers south of Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan immediately left the cave and rode a cloud towards the south to welcome them. Only when he got closer did he realize that the newcomer was Yu Buoqing, the disciple of Immortal Yunhe, the master of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Senior Martial Brother, why didn't you inform me that you were coming? I would have made preparations." Yu Buoqing smiled and said, "Junior brother, you don't have to be so courteous. This time, I was entrusted by Martial Uncle to deliver a magic tool to junior brother." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Let's not talk here. Let's go into the mountains and have a seat." After saying that, he led Yu Buoqing to the Jade Spring Peak Auditorium. The two of them sat down as guest and host, and a junior immediately served tea. Yu Buoqing smiled and said, "It's only been a dozen years since junior brother's golden core ceremony. This Jade Spring Peak has really changed a lot. Now the spirit vein is close to middle grade tier 4. Even the tea used for guests is tier 4 spirit tea." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "Senior Martial Brother, you flatter me. I only had the chance to get this tier 4 hidden cloud tea because I was guarding True Lord 100 Spirits Cave abode. At the last auction in Zhou Nation, I didn't have much spirit tea with me. In the past few years, I've saved up a little more. I can show some respect to Master and Martial Uncle Yunhe. Of course, Senior Martial Brother will also have a share. Tier 4 spirit tea was rare. Divine Weapon Pavilion naturally had some, but not much. Yu Buqing took out a 3-inch long small gourd from his sleeve and said, "Thank you, Junior Martial Brother. This is a magic tool that Martial Uncle refined for you. Have there been any movements from the refined corpses in the north of the mountain?" Wang Daoyuan took the gourd and answered, "A few years ago, there were refined corpses that came south. I cooperated with the half-demons and demons to kill 2 low-grade Tier 4 and 1 middle-grade Tier 4 refined corpse. According to the information obtained by the half-demons and demons, there were a dozen or so refined corpses. Among them, there were 3 high-grade Tier 4 corpses. These were only the refined corpses that had appeared before. There might be even more that hadn't appeared before. They were all hiding in a Yellow Spring secret realm. In that kind of environment, even a half-step Yuanian cultivator would find it hard to gain an advantage. I could only passively defend. Now that I have the magic tool that Master prepared for me, my cultivation has also reached middle-grade Oris core. As long as the refined corpses dare to come south of the mountain, I can completely kill them." Hearing this, Yu Buqing was relieved, but he was still a little surprised. "I didn't expect Junior Martial Brothers' cultivation to improve so quickly. In less than 30 years, you've reached middle-grade Oris core. You're worthy of being a gift from heaven and earth. I'm afraid you'll only need 100 years to reach half-step Yuanying." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Senior Martial Brother is too kind. How is Master's body? How are Dao Yin and Ming Ting's cultivations?" Yu Buqing answered, "Martial Uncle's body is still healthy. Dao Yin and Ming Ting have also benefited from your gift from heaven and earth. Their cultivations have improved quite a bit. Dao Yin's cultivation speed isn't fast, because he needs to temper his body. After receiving the gift from heaven and earth last time, his body's strength greatly increased and saved him a lot of cultivation time. He's already at late-stage Violet Palace realm and has a chance of forming his gold core within 30 years. Ming Ting has also opened his Violet Palace realm, and his cultivation speed isn't slow. The magic tool that Martial Uncle prepared for you is no small matter. If someone else were to send it over, he wouldn't feel at ease, so he had me personally make a trip. I still have matters to attend to at Precious Cauldron Mountain, and can't stay here for long. Junior Martial Brother, do you need me to pass a message to Martial Uncle?" Wang Daoyuan took out 3 storage pouches and handed them to Yu Buqing. He smiled and said, "The foundation of this administrator's mansion is too weak, and there's nothing good. Only this cloud concealment tea is good enough. These 3 pouches of tea are for Master, Martial Uncle, and Senior Martial Brother. Please pass a message to Martial Uncle that I'm now at low-grade 4th level in all 3 of my talisman arrays and tools. I can protect myself and ask him to rest assured." Yu Buqing nodded and said, "Junior Martial Brother, don't worry. I'll definitely pass on the message. It's just that I can't accept this 4th-level cloud concealment tea without doing anything." The 2 pushed for a while before Yu Buqing accepted the cloud concealment tea and took his leave. Martial Uncle still has 30 years of lifespan. Once he passes away, and I'm not at Precious Cauldron Mountain, Junior Martial Brother's life won't be easy. It's better to build a good relationship with Taoist Master Yunhe's lineage and take care of Junior Martial Brother. After sending Yu Buqing off, Wang Daoyuan returned to his cave residence and carefully examined the magic tool prepared by Martial Uncle. This magic tool was a small gourd that was 3 inches long. It must have been engraved with size-changing formation patterns or tool patterns. Since Yu Buqing kept it in his sleeve and didn't put it in the space of the spiritual bead, it must be a spatial treasure. Wang Daoyuan injected spiritual power into it, and the small gourd immediately grew into a large gourd that was more than a foot long. This gourd was black with some silver light, and there were obvious fluctuations of star power. It should be refined from meteorites. After dripping blood on the gourd to recognize it as its master, he found a jade slip, 2 animal skin pages, and a few stones of different sizes in the gourd. The animal skin pages recorded the refining method of this gourd. This gourd was called the meteorite fire controlling gourd. The outer shell was refined from a mid-grade 4th level meteorite. There was a space of 500 square feet inside the gourd. At the bottom of the gourd, there was an egg-sized star core, which was the core of the entire gourd. The so-called star core was the core of a star. The stars in the void were also constantly being born and dying. The star core was extremely strong and wasn't easy to destroy. After the star died, it would be preserved. The star power within it would constantly dissipate, and its grade would gradually decrease. These star cores wandered in the endless void, and sometimes fell like ordinary meteorites. This was how the star core in the meteorite gourd came about. The star core contained extremely rich star power. Whether it was refining the body or refining tools, it was extremely valuable. Chapter 561. The reason why the meteorite fire-controlling gourd could restrain the refined corpse was because of this fire. The power of the stars contained the 5 elements, so naturally, it could also contain the 5 elements spiritual fire. This gourd would automatically absorb spiritual energy and store it in the space inside. If a wisp of rootless fire could be placed inside, the gourd and the star core inside would protect the rootless fire from extinguishing. The rootless fire would also borrow the spiritual energy absorbed by the gourd to continuously strengthen itself. Without the spiritual fire, a flame condensed from a fire attribute spell could also have the same effect. The possibility of the rootless fire nurturing the spiritual fire in the gourd was not high. Without a fire seed, no one had ever succeeded in nurturing a fire seed with the rootless fire. If a pseudo-spiritual fire was created and placed in this fire-controlling gourd, it would be more realistic to nurture the spiritual fire. Because of the power of the stars, the 5 elements spiritual fire could coexist in this meteorite fire-controlling gourd. It was too troublesome to nurture the pseudo-spiritual fire. Let's try putting the rootless fire in first. After drawing out the rootless fire of the 5 elements spiritual fire, he placed it in the meteorite fire-controlling gourd. The 5 wisps of flames automatically gathered on the star core and did not interfere with each other. Other than nurturing the flames, the meteorite fire-controlling gourd could also increase the power of the flames. In the case where the space in the gourd was not filled with spiritual energy, it could absorb the opponent's attack. This could also be considered a bit of a defensive function. As long as the opponent's attack was not too strong, there would be no problem. To Wang Daoyuan, the biggest use of this meteorite fire-controlling gourd was to allow him to use the 5 elements spiritual fire. In the future, if someone saw through using the 5 elements spiritual fire to defend against the enemy, he could push the blame to the gourd. This gourd was refined by spiritual master Lei Yan. He was the top blacksmith in the world. It was normal for the magical equipment, refined by him, to have some mystical aspects. Even if some people were suspicious, Wang Daoyuan was not afraid. No one would be able to find evidence. Wang Daoyuan was no longer a small figure that anyone could mess with. Even without his master and divine weapon pavilion as his backing, he was not someone who could be touched just based on suspicion. After reading the refining method, he looked at the jade slip again. It recorded some of his master's words. This gourd was a magical equipment created by spiritual master Lei Yan, based on the advantage of Wang Daoyuan having the 5 elements spiritual fire. It was one of the best magic tools he had ever refined in his life, and it was also likely to be the last magic tool he had ever created. He hoped that Wang Daoyuan could learn how to refine the meteorite fire-controlling gourd and not let his efforts go to waste. Among the stones inside the gourd, there were 2 egg-sized star cores, and the rest were meteorites. These materials were enough to refine 2 meteorite fire-controlling gourds. Although the star core was dark and swarthy, it was extremely valuable, whether it was used to refine tools or temper the body. An egg-sized star core could be sold for 10 million spirit stones, and there would be people fighting over it. Fortunately, Beiyuan Xiuxian couldn't break through to Yuanying now. Otherwise, using the power of the stars to temper the body and increase the success rate of breaking through would be worth several times more. Wang Daoyuan currently did not have the ability to refine the meteorite fire controlling gourd, so he decided to keep the materials for now. This gourd was able to absorb the spiritual energy of the 5 elements. Naturally, it would be better to put it in the space of the spirit pearl. After the meteorite fire controlling gourd was put into the space of the spirit pearl, it floated in the air, and the speed of absorbing spiritual energy instantly increased. In just a few minutes, the space inside the gourd was filled with spiritual energy, and the rootless fire on the star core burned even more vigorously. He could also feel that the gourd was absorbing purple energy. Although the amount was not large, it was very stable. Purple energy was formed by the fusion of yin and yang energy. It was not part of the 5 elements. Logically speaking, the meteorite fire controlling gourd should not be able to absorb it. Absorbing purple energy was an extremely difficult task. As far as he knew, Beiyuan Xiuxian did not have a tool pattern that could absorb purple energy. In order to cultivate the purple cloud tree, the 4 top forces had used all kinds of methods, but they could only let the purple energy exist for a while. If there was a way to absorb purple energy, would there be a need to spend so much effort? Since it was not a problem with the tool pattern, it could be a problem with the materials. The meteorite fire controlling gourd was made of 2 materials, meteorites and star cores. Meteorites were not considered a very precious material. When he had asked his master about the power of the stars, his master had given him a few 3rd-grade meteorites. When these meteorites were put into the space of the spiritual pearl, there was no abnormality. Wang Daoyuan still had a few 4th-grade mid-grade meteorites. After putting them into the space of the spiritual pearl, he did not absorb any purple energy. Since there was no problem with the meteorites, it could only be the star cores. He put the 2 star cores in his hands into the space of the spiritual pearl, and they floated in the air by themselves. Moreover, when the 2 star cores entered the space of the spiritual pearl, they began to absorb the purple energy violently. In addition to the purple energy, they were also absorbing pure yin and pure yang energy. Perhaps because the star core and the gourd had been refined into a part of the magic tool, the absorption speed was affected. The gourd's absorption speed was far slower than the 2 star cores. The absorption speed of the purple cloud tree was not qualified to be compared with the star cores. After a day, Wang Daoyuan took out a star core and carefully examined it with his divine sense. This star core had been absorbing purple energy in the space for more than 40 days, but there was no trace of purple energy in it. Instead, the power of the stars had increased slightly. Although the increase was very subtle, he could still detect it with his divine sense. Master once said that the power of the stars contained both yin and yang, including the 5 elements. The purple energy was also formed by the intersection of yin and yang energy. Now, the star core was absorbing the purple energy to increase the power of the stars. Wang Daoyuan guessed that the 2 should be the same kind of energy. The power of the stars might be a higher form of existence than the purple energy. The star core was something left behind after a star was destroyed. It had the function of transforming the purple energy into the power of the stars. Although the 2 star cores and the meteorite fire controlling gourd absorbed the purple energy, it did not affect the growth of the purple cloud tree. The absorption speed of the purple cloud tree was too slow. Before it could absorb a large amount of purple energy, it dissipated on its own. Now that it was absorbed by the star core and transformed into the power of the stars, it was also recycling waste. The star core was once the core of a star. Naturally, its grade could not be estimated. After the star was destroyed, the power of the stars dissipated, and its grade gradually decreased. Now that there was a supply of purple energy, the power of the stars in the star core would slowly increase. The more power of the stars there was, the higher the grade. In time, they might even become 2 stars. With his current cultivation, the purple energy did not have much effect on him. On the other hand, the power of the stars could grow the star spirit fruit and brew the 100-fruit wine, increasing his strength in all aspects. In the future, when his cultivation reached the peak of the golden core stage, he could also extract the power of the stars from the star core to temper his body and soul. increasing his chances of breaking through to the Yuanying stage. Exchanging the purple energy for the power of the stars, this was a great deal. The meteorite fire controlling gourd and the star core were very suitable to be nurtured in the space of the spirit pearl. Wang Daoyuan did not need them for the time being, so he simply let them stay in the space of the spirit pearl. He had to quickly refine a few talismans to increase the strength of the clan to deal with the upcoming threat. Low-grade 4th-grade talismans were mainly used by Zifu realm cultivators. If he wanted to threaten a golden core cultivator, he naturally had to pursue lethality. Among the 9 elements, the lightning element was the most lethality. However, the clan did not have any lightning element cultivators and was unable to replenish the talisman's spiritual energy. The metal and fire element talismans had the most lethality. The metal element was strong in breaking through defenses, while the fire element was strong in explosiveness and a large lethality. Golden core cultivators had many methods. Even if a Zifu realm cultivator had a talisman, the probability of hitting a golden core cultivator was not high. There was not much meaning in breaking through defenses. The fire element's explosiveness and lethality were more useful. This talisman was mainly made of fire element talismans, so it was easy to replenish fire element spiritual energy. There was no lack of fire element spiritual energy in the earth fire. The scale of the clan's refining of pills was also relatively large. If they relied on spiritual charcoal, the price would be too high. In the future, they would open an earth fire room and use it to refine pills and tools. The spiritual charcoal saved every year would be sold to the administrator's residence, which could also earn a sum of spirit stones for the clan. Chapter 562. In the weapon talisman inheritance that Wang Daoyuan obtained from his master, there were many ways to refine spirit talismans. Even if they were not used together with weapon refinement techniques, they were still a set of legacy talismans alone. The weapon talisman that he wanted to refine was called the Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge. Once activated, a radius of 30 miles would be turned into a sea of fire, and it could severely injure or even kill ordinary early-stage golden core cultivators. The Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge was similar to perfected Thunderflame's Purple Thunder Evil Slaying Badge. First, a palm-sized round badge was refined using weapon refinement techniques before inscribing runes on it. The difficulty of refining the badge was not high. However, the runes of the talisman were extremely complicated, and the inscribing of the runes had to be done in one go. If there were any interruptions or mistakes during the inscribing of the weapon runes, there was still a chance to remedy it. If there were any mistakes during the inscribing of the runes, the entire process would be wasted. Refining the token did not consume much tier 4 refining materials, so he could still afford to fail a few more times. With the foundation left behind from refining sword talismans, he only failed 3 times before successfully refining a Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge. This Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge was slightly stronger than his master's Purple Thunder Evil Slaying Badge. Of course, it was not in terms of power, but in terms of being able to replenish spirit energy multiple times. Perfected Thunderflame did not know much about spirit talismans, and the Purple Thunder Evil Slaying Badge that he refined could only be used 3 times. It could not be replenished once its spirit energy was depleted. On the other hand, the Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge that Wang Daoyuan refined could be used 3 times when it was filled with spirit energy. As long as the badge was not destroyed, it could continuously replenish spirit energy. He spent another 3 months to refine 6 Heavenly Fire Prairie Badges, 5 Heaven Sealing Sword Prison Talismans, and 7 Heavenly Fire Prairie Badges were basically enough. Grade 4 low-grade sword talismans and weapon talismans could only deal with early-stage golden core cultivators. What the Wang family was going to face was not just early-stage golden core cultivators. Even if he refined more sword talismans and weapon talismans, they would not be able to deal with mid-stage and late-stage golden core cultivators. He could only rely on himself to deal with opponents above mid-stage golden core. To protect the family, the most important thing was still his own strength. After refining the talisman, Wang Daoyuan called the 12th uncle and the 3rd brother over. The two of them arrived at the Immortals' cave. Wang Daoyuan opened all of the restrictive spells, then took out the sword talisman and the artifact talisman. He said, "These are the Heaven Seal Sword Prison Talisman and the Skyfire Prairie Command. These two items could be used 3 times each. After using them up, he could use them again after replenishing his spiritual energy. However, the sword talisman could only be replenished by sword cultivators, while the Prairie Blazing Heavenly Fire Writ could be replenished by any fire attribute cultivator. Even if he didn't have any fire attribute spirit energy, he could still replenish his spirit energy by placing it near a fire attribute spirit vein. The country of Zhao won't be peaceful for the next few decades. If something happens, I'll have to rely on myself to deal with it. You guys also need to have the ability to deal with golden core cultivators. This is what our family relies on to protect itself, so I'll leave it to you. I will find a suitable place to open up the Earth Fire Room on Jade Spring Peak. After that, I'll go into seclusion and cultivate. You guys can discuss how to use these items." The two of them had expressions of pleasant surprise and astonishment. Even the 3 sects of the country of Zhao couldn't refine 4th-grade talismans on their own. Now there were more than 10 of them placed in front of them. Wang Daoyuan didn't care about what they thought. He directly walked out of the Immortals' cave and searched for a suitable place to open up the Earth Fire Room on Jade Spring Peak. Once the Earth Fire Room was completed, it would become the core area for the family to refine tools and pills. Therefore, the location of the Earth Fire Room had to be sufficiently safe, and it could only be built within the range of the Myriad Water Origin Formation. Jade Spring Peak had a low-grade 4th-grade water attribute spirit vein and a large spirit spring. If one wanted to build an Earth Fire Room in such a place, they had to avoid spirit veins and underground water veins. The spirit veins and water veins of Jade Spring Peak extended from the northeast. The Jade Dragon Spring was in the middle of Jade Spring Peak, and the spring water flowed southwest. Therefore, they couldn't build an Earth Fire Room in the northeast or southwest of Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan searched for suitable locations in the southeast and northwest of Jade Spring Peak. After a few days of exploration, he finally decided to open up the Earth Fire Room halfway up the mountain in the southeast direction of Jade Spring Peak. There was a flat area where crimson-scaled pine and a few stalks of blood dragon wood were planted to provide charcoal for the medicine hall and the refining hall. This place was more than 5 kilometers away from the spirit veins and water veins, and the rock formation was relatively intact without any cracks. It was very suitable for opening up an Earth Fire Room. In order to not expose his methods, he didn't inform anyone and directly entered the ground, using the dust origin flame to open up an underground space. Before he established his Violet Palace, he had stayed in the Earth Fire Room of the Netherworld Sect's refining hall for a few years. Therefore, he had a good understanding of the Earth Fire Room. Now that he wanted to build an Earth Fire Room, he wouldn't be in the dark. In the future, if the family wanted to develop and expand, Jade Spring Peak would still be the core on the surface. The scale of the Earth Fire Room couldn't be too small. Wang Daoyuan planned to imitate the Netherworld Sect's refining hall's underground refining workshop. He would first open up a cylindrical underground space and build a circular corridor along the stone walls. He would open up small Earth Fire Rooms on the stone walls. Every small Earth Fire Room had a fire eye that could be used to refine pills and refine tools. The cylindrical underground space didn't need to be too big. It would be about 150 meters in diameter. Opening up an Earth Fire Room still had a certain amount of risk. No one knew what level of fire spiritual energy was contained in the underground lava. If it was at the level of a 3rd-rank spiritual vein, he wouldn't need to be too concerned. Before digging through the rock formation, it would be enough to use a formation to slightly suppress the lava and draw out the earth fire. If it was at the level of a 4th-rank spiritual vein, Wang Daoyuan would have to be careful. 4th-rank lava was quite a threat to golden core cultivators. He would need to set up an intricate formation to suppress the lava. If he didn't make proper preparations, he would rashly dig down. Once he dug through the rock formation, and the lava gushed out, it would be a matter of life and death. As for what kind of situation it was, It would be clear once he saw through the fire's spiritual energy in the rock formation, when he dug a few hundred meters away from the lava. Long before he broke through to the middle stage of the golden core realm, the five elements spiritual fire had already grown to the level of a fourth-rank spiritual flame. There was no need to mention the speed of burning the rock formation with a mid-grade fourth-rank spiritual flame. In just 3 days, he had dug out an underground space with a diameter of 150 meters and a depth of 90,000 meters. Another 400 to 500 meters down would be the lava. Wang Daoyuan felt the fire's spiritual energy in this place. It was indeed not too strong. The lava below was at most a third-rank spiritual flame. This way, there was nothing to be afraid of. After that, he wasn't in a hurry to dig through the remaining rock formation. Instead, he first inscribed formation patterns in the surroundings. He set up a fourth-rank low-grade fire-controlling formation to suppress the lava. This was to prevent the lava from gushing out and turning the Jade Spring Peak into a volcano. This time, the progress was relatively slow. It took him 2 months to dig through the rock formation. With the fourth-rank fire-controlling formation suppressing it, the lava was unable to surge upwards. Wang Daoyuan used the dust-returning flame to burn a circular corridor on the walls of the cylindrical underground space. Along the corridor, he opened up small earth fire rooms. What was left was to guide the earth fire from the fire-controlling formation to each small earth fire room and set up a formation to protect the earth fire rooms. These things weren't difficult, but they were particularly cumbersome. He left them to his little uncle and the people of the formation hall. There was no need for him to do it personally. He broke through the underground space and returned to the surface. A rich fire spiritual energy gushed out. All the cultivators on the mountain could clearly feel the change in spiritual energy. The 12th uncle and the 3rd brother came to investigate. When they saw Wang Daoyuan here, and the fire spiritual energy gushing out from the ground, the two of them had a look of disbelief. The 12th uncle asked, "It's only been a few days, and the earth fire rooms are already completed?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Pentaspirit veins cultivators have many tricks up their sleeves. What's this small matter? I've already set up the fire-controlling formation to suppress the lava. What's left is to guide the earth fire and set up the defensive formation. 3rd brother, you can arrange for the people of the formation hall to do it. I have something to do and need to leave the Jade Spring Peak. If there's something you can't solve, just send me a message." After he finished speaking, he concealed his figure and left the Jade Spring Peak, heading towards the returning Wild Goose Market. He had delayed a few years because of the sword talismans and the tool talismans. It was time to cultivate properly. Chapter 563. Wang Daoyuan arrived at Zhou Wan's residence in the underground branch. She was meditating on her bed, her eyes closed. Intense fire spiritual energy flickered around her. Judging from the intensity of this fire spiritual energy, her cultivation was already very close to the middle stage of core formation. The fire attribute laws contained within her fire spiritual energy were also clearly stronger. It seemed that it wouldn't take long for her to condense spiritual fire. Wang Daoyuan didn't disturb her. He lay on a deck chair in the garden and quietly drank some wine. Half a day later, a fiery red figure appeared in front of him. "You still know how to come back. Why aren't you back if there's nothing important? Are you hiding some beauties in your residence?" Wang Daoyuan sat up and pulled Zhou Wan into his arms. Aside from the hall master, how could there be any other beauties in this world? Zhou Wan's expression was smug. "You have good taste. But there's something I need you to take care of. Mou, Jackdaw, and Lu Zong are nearing the end of their lifespans. How do you plan to deal with them? Do you want to control a few more puppets? Or should I promote a few more wandering cultivators?" At this moment, Wang Daoyuan placed his hands on her waist and tickled her. Zhou Wan hit his hand and pretended to be angry. "I'm talking business with you." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Aren't I doing something serious right now? I've already made plans for this. It's not reliable to promote more wandering cultivators. I want to arrange for a few Dark Hall disciples to enter Blood Shadow. They've been working in the shadows before, but their methods weren't good enough. It's a good opportunity for them to enter Blood Shadow and learn. What do you think? Zhou Wan pondered for a moment. That's fine too. I need to raise my cultivation and condense true fire. You heartless person. You stay outside all day and don't even know how to share my burden. With a few juniors coming over, I won't have to worry about the branch's trifling matters. Wang Daoyuan asked. I've opened a fire room on Jade Spring Peak. The fire spiritual energy there is comparable to high-grade third-tier spiritual energy. It's more suitable for you to cultivate. Why don't we move there? It saves me the trouble of running around. Zhou Wan was a little tempted. Although a third-level upper-grade fire spiritual vein was not enough, it was still much better than the third-level lower-grade non-elemental spiritual veins in Guiyuan City Square. Moreover, the underground lava was not comparable to an ordinary fire spiritual vein. It had an endless supply of fire spiritual energy. In the future, when he condensed spiritual fire and used the fire attribute spiritual fire to burn the lava, the fire spiritual energy would be able to satisfy his needs for cultivation. She asked, what about here? Shanbei is too chaotic. Someone has to be in charge. Wang Daoyuan laughed. When I have the chance, I'll control a few more Jindan or Zifu disciples and have them stand guard here. Zhou Wan nodded. Then wait for me to condense the spiritual fire. Without the help of the spiritual fire, the third-order high-grade fire spiritual vein is not enough for me. Wang Daoyuan stood up and carried Zhou Wan into the boudoir. Then I'll help you condense the spiritual fire as soon as possible. A year later, both of them were in deep slumber. Suddenly, a burst of violent fire spiritual energy woke Wang Daoyuan up. He felt that Zhou Wan in his arms was burning hot. The spiritual energy fluctuations were rapidly increasing. This was a sign that she was about to break through. Zhou Wan had a special physique and the Phoenix bloodline. She could barely be considered a half-demon with Phoenix bloodline. It was common for mythological beasts to break through while asleep. She would not delay anything if she continued to sleep. At most, she would take a longer time to break through. Wang Daoyuan converted all the spiritual energy in his body into fire spiritual energy. He slowly spread the fire spiritual energy around Zhou Wan. There was a difference between their fire spiritual energy. If he directly transferred his spiritual energy into Zhou Wan's body, it would hinder her from breaking through. He could only help in this way. In the next few days, the fire spiritual energy fluctuations on her body became stronger and stronger. However, she did not wake up. It seemed that she was going to sleep until the end of her breakthrough. After another month, Zhou Wan no longer absorbed the fire spiritual energy around her. The spiritual energy on her body flickered with a dazzling red light. Not long after, the red light disappeared. Her spiritual energy fluctuations had reached the middle stage of gold core, but she still did not wake up. Suddenly, a flame ignited on her body. This flame was caused by her small magical ability. It would not hurt her body. The flame became stronger and stronger. After half an hour, the flame turned into a Scarlet Luan Phantom with a wingspan of 10 feet. The Scarlet Luan Phantom absorbed the fire spiritual energy around it. The flame on its body gradually strengthened. Slowly, it had some spiritual fire. When breaking through, she condensed the spiritual fire along the way. At this time, Wang Daoyuan could not help. He could only release as much fire spiritual energy as he could. In this month, the fire spiritual energy he consumed was more than 3 times his spiritual energy. If it were not for the spiritual pearl space as a shield, he would not have been able to withstand it. When the Scarlet Luan Phantom came out, the spiritual energy consumption was even greater. Anyway, the spiritual energy in the spiritual pearl space was enough to condense a spiritual fire. However, Wang Daoyuan still kept drinking spiritual wine. After half a day, the Scarlet Luan Phantom condensed a needle-sized flame in its mouth. He had played with spiritual fire for nearly 200 years, so he naturally knew what a flame was. This was a fire seed condensed. As soon as the fire seed appeared, it began to grow rapidly. Wang Daoyuan also increased the output of spiritual energy. Half a month later, the fire seed grew to the size of a soybean. Wang Daoyuan was very envious. How much time did he spend to condense the pseudo-spiritual fire, to let the fire seed grow to the size of a mung bean? This was great. In just half a month, the fire seed grew to the size of a soybean. This was the level of a Tier 3 spiritual fire. At this time, the Scarlet Yuan Phantom no longer absorbed fire spiritual energy. Instead, it gradually shrank. In the end, the Scarlet Yuan Phantom's wingspan shrank to 3 inches. The fire seed was always in its mouth. The spiritual fire condensed by Zhou Wan wouldn't look like this, right? Wang Daoyuan had seen many spiritual fires. His 5 spiritual fires and master's spiritual fires made a total of 6. The functions of different flames were very different, but the shape of the flames was nothing special. Why did Zhou Wan's spiritual fire look like this? Furthermore, not only did this spiritual fire have rich fire spiritual energy, but it also had an energy similar to life force. It was similar to the life force of the life spiritual fire, but there were obvious differences. He pondered for a while. This spiritual fire came from Zhou Wan's small divine ability. Zhou Wan's small divine ability came from her special physique. She had the bloodline of the phoenix race. And this spiritual fire grew into the appearance of the Scarlet Yuan. This special life force should be related to the legendary phoenix's nirvana. After the spiritual fire shrank to 3 inches, it merged into Zhou Wan's glabella, and she woke up. Wang Daoyuan heaved a sigh of relief and teased, "I really didn't expect to be so powerful to make you sleep for so long." Zhou Wan glared at him. "Nothing good comes out of a dog's mouth. Seeing that you've worked so hard for so long, I wanted to praise you. You choked back the good words that were about to come out of my mouth." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "There's no need for good words. It's fine as long as there are benefits." Zhou Wan took out a fiery sun stone from her cosmos ring. The Scarlet Sun True Fire seed flame was burning on this fiery sunstone. She handed the fiery sunstone to Wang Daoyuan, and then realized something was wrong. "The Scarlet Sun True Fire is in my hands. Why do you still have such a rich spiritual fire aura on your body? The grade of this Scarlet Sun True Fire is also wrong. You're already at the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. The spiritual fire's growth speed is only faster than yours. How can it still be 3rd grade? Could it be that you have 2 Scarlet Sun True Fires?" Wang Daoyuan saw that he couldn't hide it anymore and nodded. Back then, True Lord 100 Spirit used the Scarlet Feather Crow's natal True Fire to condense the spiritual fire. The method he used can condense an unstable pseudo-spiritual fire with the help of the spiritual fire. After a few years of nurturing, it can turn into a spiritual fire. The Scarlet Sun True Fire in your hands was nurtured by me using the pseudo-spiritual fire. Hearing this, Zhou Wan said, "Then use my Scarlet Yuan Nirvana Fire to condense a pseudo-spiritual fire. My Scarlet Yuan Nirvana Fire has inherited a trace of the Phoenix Nirvana Fire's power. Although it doesn't have the effect of reviving the dead like the Nirvana Fire, I can use the Nirvana secret technique with the help of this spiritual fire to heal my injuries in an instant. You often travel outside and inevitably get injured. With the Scarlet Yuan Nirvana Fire, I can be more at ease." Chapter 564. Upon hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. He had traveled a lot and was injured a lot. Naturally, he knew what it meant to heal his injuries instantly. Some healing pills, even for superficial wounds, could not heal them instantly. The Azure Dragon Pearl could only heal minor superficial wounds in a short time with the help of vitality. Once he suffered internal injuries, he had to recuperate for a period of time. He asked in surprise, "The Red Yuan's Nirvana Fire is so powerful?" Zhou Wan had a proud expression. Of course, there are indeed many people in the Zhou family who have awakened small divine abilities and condensed spiritual fire. However, among the spiritual fire condensed, there are very few that have the power of the Nirvana Fire. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Doesn't that mean that when fighting with others, I can only attack and not defend, and exchange injury for injury? As long as I'm seriously injured, I can use the secret technique to heal my injuries instantly." Zhou Wan looked at him in disdain. "In your dreams, even if it's a pure-blooded phoenix with the Nirvana Fire, there's a slim chance of survival during Nirvana. Although the Zhou family's Nirvana secret technique is only used to heal injuries, it's not without a price. Every Nirvana consumes a large amount of vital essence and blood essence. It's very likely that it will cause one's cultivation to regress and greatly damage one's body. If your vital essence and blood essence are exhausted, you'll lose your life. At that time, even the Nirvana secret technique won't be able to save you. You don't have the Phoenix bloodline, so you'll have to pay an even greater price to use the Nirvana secret technique. Without special means, it might take a few years to recover from the injuries caused by using the secret technique. This secret technique is only for you to have one more life-saving means when you're in danger. Don't use your trump card as a regular method. Wang Daoyuan nodded. This was more reasonable. If they could really use the Nirvana secret technique casually, the Zhou family would have dominated Beiyuan Xiuxian long ago. Even so, this secret technique was extremely powerful. With the Nirvana secret technique, they would definitely win against opponents of similar strength. He smiled. This is not bad. However, condensing the pseudo-spiritual fire requires about 1/10 of the fire seed. It's very damaging to the spiritual fire. Zhou Wan had an indifferent look on her face. Anyway, it can be healed. If it can't be healed, a guy like you who doesn't get up early without benefits wouldn't have condensed a second Crimson Yang real fire. It can give you another life-saving trump card. Losing a bit of spirit fire origin is nothing. When will we start condensing the pseudo-spiritual fire? Wang Daoyuan replied. Condensing the pseudo-spiritual fire will consume a large amount of fire attribute spiritual energy. Let's move to the Earth Fire Room on Jade Spring Peak first. Now that you've broken through to the middle stage of the Gold Core Realm and condensed your spiritual fire, it's time to move to the Jade Spring Peak. If you don't have any objections, I'll return to Jade Spring Peak and tell the 12th uncle and 3rd brother about Blood Shadow. He told them to pick a few steady foundation establishment juniors to take over the steward's position. As for management, he would transfer Cui Ming over first. Qianfeng in Clearglass City is under my control anyways. Leaving 2 Zifu disciple golems in Clearglass City is too much of a waste. Zhou Wan nodded. She didn't have any objections. Wang Daoyuan immediately returned to Jade Spring Peak and called the 12th uncle and 3rd brother to his Immortals cave. He opened all the restrictions and said, I found a Dao companion outside and plan to bring her to the Earth Fire Room on Jade Spring Peak. I wonder if the Earth Fire Room has been built yet. The 12th uncle had an astonished expression. The Earth Fire Room has been built long ago. There are many formation masters in the clan. This small matter is nothing. You really aren't someone who can stay idle. 5th uncle and I were discussing the matter of finding a Dao companion for you before. After all, the clan's huge property was built by one person. If you leave behind a descendant, it'll be easier for you to take over the clan in the future. We haven't even come up with an idea yet, but you've already found one yourself. Which power does nephew's wife belong to? What's her cultivation level? Wang Daoyuan replied. Her cultivation level is at the middle stage of the Gold Core Realm. She's a distant branch of the Zhou clan, but her identity is rather sensitive. What I'm going to say next is only known to the 3 of us and 5th uncle. If this matter is leaked, it'll be much more dangerous than exposing the 5 elements mystery realm. You'd better keep your mouths shut. The 2 nodded solemnly. Wang Daoyuan then continued. There's an underground power in Beiyuan Xiuxian called Blood Shadow. Its strength is comparable to the 4 top powers. In terms of intelligence, it's fully deserving of being number 1. Blood Shadow has established branches in various places, mainly dealing in assassination business. There are 2 Blood Shadow branches in the territory, under the jurisdiction of the administrator's office. They are the Qingli branch and the Shanbei branch. I'm currently the Shanbei branch's deputy hall master, and the hall master is my Dao companion. The Qingli branch's hall master and deputy hall master are also my people. I want to take over the family's dark hall and arrange for the clan's dark hall cultivators to enter the Blood Shadow branches, turning these 2 branches into the Wang clan's branches. In this way, Yan'an County will become a monolithic block. If other powers want to meddle in Yan'an County's affairs, they'll be suppressed by both the righteous and the righteous. You're the clan's decision-makers. If this matter is hidden from you, it's possible that your own family will fight in the future. That's why I'm asking for your opinions." The two were stunned for a long time. Only then did the 12th uncle react, saying, "You've done so many great things these years. You've even taken down the underground powers. You've contributed more than 90% to the clan's achievements today. Since you've made your preparations, I don't have any objections to what you want to do." The third brother also nodded. "I don't have any objections either. The Dark Hall has always acted in secret, and most of the clansmen don't know of their existence. In the Dark Hall, there are now 5 foundation establishment cultivators and 100 or so chi refinement cultivators. They're all reliable people. In addition, I have an idea. After the foundation establishment pills were distributed, there were also a dozen or so foundation establishment cultivators in the elemental mystery realm. Moreover, the Taoist slips opened their Violet Palace not long ago. It's not too appropriate for them to show their faces outside. It's easy for people to think that our Wang clan has some hidden trump cards. What I mean is that the cultivators nurtured in the elemental mystery realm can conceal their identities and blend into blood shadow, as long as they're capable enough. In this way, they can also be of use." Wang Daoyuan and the 12th uncle both nodded. This method was indeed better. The cultivators in the elemental mystery realm had always been a backup plan. However, if they were to stay in the elemental mystery realm without any hardships, the cultivators they nurtured would also be a bunch of trash. As for exposing the secret realm, it wasn't a big deal. There weren't many secret realms in the whole of Beiyuan Xiuxian, but they weren't rare either. Which major power didn't have a secret realm? The elemental mystery realm only had a rank 3 spirit vein. Even if those major powers knew, they wouldn't take it too seriously. Only small and medium-sized golden core powers, like the Netherworld sect, would be interested in the elemental mystery realm. With Wang Daoyuan's strength and the Divine Weapon Pavilion as his backing, he really wasn't afraid of a power like the Netherworld sect. Wang Daoyuan said, "I haven't been to the elemental mystery realm for a long time. I'm not too familiar with the foundation establishment cultivators in the clan. Third brother, you'll be in charge of selecting suitable people. Once you've selected them, bring them to me." Wang Daochang nodded and left the cave abode to select people. 3 days later, he brought a Violet Palace realm cultivator and 6 foundation establishment cultivators to Wang Daoyuan's cave abode. This Violet Palace realm cultivator was Wang Daojian, a cultivator with 2 spirit veins. His main spirit vein was a 7-inch gold spirit vein. When Wang Daoyuan was still in the foundation establishment realm, he had taught him some sword cultivation techniques. After he obtained the Gudyuan Sword Codex, he gave up on his own cultivation techniques and switched to the Gudyuan Sword Codex. Wang Daoyuan looked at him and asked, "What's your Violet Palace realm phenomenon?" Wang Daojian replied, "It's a long sword without any decorations." He had never heard of such a Violet Palace realm phenomenon. It was hard to say whether it was strong or weak. "Do you have a natal Dharma artifact?" "It's already refined, but it's still condensing the tool pattern." Wang Daoyuan nodded and didn't ask any more questions. He changed the topic and said, "I'm sure the Patriarch has already told you about your mission. Spread out and pay attention to conceal yourselves. First, stay at the Immortal Welcoming Pavilion in the returning Wild Goose Market. When the time comes, someone will bring my clan's elder token to you. You just have to do as that person says." The 7 of them nodded and left the Jade Spring Peak. Chapter 565. After the 7 of them left, Wang Daoyuan left Jade Spring Peak under the cover of the Black Magic Robe and headed for Guiyuan Market. When he arrived at the underground branch, Cui Ming had already arrived at the Shanbei branch. Wang Daoyuan gave his clan elder token to Cui Ming and asked him to bring all the disciples to the underground branch. He couldn't do this himself, so it was better to leave it to Cui Ming. When third brother gave them the task, he naturally wouldn't reveal the secret. Wang Daojian and the other 6 only knew that they had infiltrated Blood Shadow to obtain information for their family. Even if they were captured by outsiders and their identities were discovered through soul searching, It would at most be because the Wang family knew about Blood Shadow and wanted to infiltrate it. To Wang Daoyuan, this was a small problem. Even if it was leaked, Blood Shadow's headquarters would at most order Zhou Luan to investigate the Shanbei branch. If they investigated their own, it would be over. The administrator's office was also a Golden Core faction, so the headquarters would also choose to do business with the Wang family. After all, they had sent Golden Core cultivators hundreds of thousands of miles to attack the Wang family in South Yin County. If they weren't careful, they would lose several Golden Core cultivators. The price was too high. If he kidnapped Zhou Luan, then the Shanbei and Qingli branches would all have the surname Wang. This was a big deal. If this was leaked, Blood Shadow's headquarters would rather lose a few Golden Core cultivators and send people to flatten the Wang family. Otherwise, Blood Shadow's dignity would be completely lost. Cui Ming took his token and brought the 7 of them to the underground branch, where they recorded their identity information. Of course, Wang Daojian hid his identity as a Zifu cultivator. They were assigned to Jackdaw's clones and trained for a period of time before they were made managers. After dealing with the transfer of power, Wang Daoyuan went to Zhou Luan's cave residence. This time she didn't cultivate. Instead, she lay on a deck chair in the backyard and ate red pine nuts. Her clothes were still very thrifty. Wang Daoyuan asked with a smile, "Hall Master, everything here has been arranged. Can you come back to the mountain with me to be the wife of the chief?" Zhou Luan didn't argue with him this time. She sighed and said, "I've been here for too long. I really can't bear to leave." Wang Daoyuan didn't seem to care at all. "If there's anything you can't bear to part with, we'll take them all. I'll build an identical immortal cave for you in the Earth Fire Room of Jade Spring Peak." Although the Jade Spring Peak wasn't big, it was still a few dozen miles in radius. It won't be a problem to open up an Immortals cave of a few acres in size near the Earth Fire. Hearing this, Zhou Luan's mood improved. She stood up and pointed at the garden, saying, "Take all the spirit plants here, but forget about the house. In the future, I'll have to come back from time to time to take care of business." Wang Daoyuan called his doppelganger Mou and Lu Zong in, and had them help pack up the spirit plants. The 2 of them didn't have many years left to live. This time, he'd put them in the space of the spirit pearl, and take them with him. It'd be easier for him to take back his subsouls. Jackdaw, on the other hand, still had a few years left to live. He had him stay here and cooperate with Cui Ming to control the Shanbei branch. Once Wang Daojian familiarized himself with Blood Shadow's affairs, he'd take Jackdaw back. Soon, the 2 doppelganger finished packing up all the spirit plants. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Why don't we take the bed with us? I'm used to sleeping on it. I don't want to leave it behind." Zhou Luan didn't refute him. Instead, she walked into her room and said, "Wait for me to change my clothes. I'll formally meet the elders. Wearing this isn't very dignified." Wang Daoyuan wanted to go in and help, but a fireball blasted him out. 4 hours later, Zhou Luan appeared in a fiery red dress with a scarlet phoenix embroidered with golden thread. Her expression didn't change. Before Wang Daoyuan could flatter her, she stretched out her hand and said, "Let me use the 100 spirits ring. There are too many things to bring. My interspatial ring can't hold them all." Wang Daoyuan had no choice but to take out the 100 spirits ring and help her pack. He hadn't seen her change her clothes many times before. In reality, the clothes weighed more than 1,000 kilograms. Add to that a pile of artifacts, spirit wine, and other miscellaneous items. An ordinary interspatial ring wouldn't be able to hold them all. After half a day, the 2 of them finally packed up everything. Wang Daoyuan took the bed with him. He put the black magic robe on Zhou Luan. The 2 of them left the underground branch and returned to Jade Spring Peak. When they returned to Jade Spring Peak, 5th granduncle, 12th uncle, and 3rd brother were already waiting for them in the auditorium. Wang Daoyuan led Zhou Luan into the auditorium. The soundproof and anti-prying formations were immediately activated. 5th granduncle asked, "Daoyuan, where's your granddaughter-in-law?" Zhou Luan was wearing the black magic robe. With the invisibility spell, even Golden Core cultivators wouldn't be able to discover her, let alone Zifu realm cultivators. Wang Daoyuan took the black magic robe off her body. She bowed to fifth granduncle and said, "Granddaughter-in-law Zhou greets fifth granduncle." Fifth granduncle nodded in satisfaction and said, "Daoyuan, you're really lucky." Zhou also bowed to 12th uncle and third brother. The two of them also responded. After exchanging greetings for a while, Wang Daoyuan said, "Zhou is a fire attribute cultivator. It's not suitable for her to live near Jade Dragon Spring. I plan to open an Immortals cave at the bottom of the Earth Fire Room for her." The three of them naturally didn't have any objections. Third brother smiled and said, "I'll set the bottom of the Earth Fire Room as a restricted area. No one is allowed to trespass. You guys can live there at ease." After exchanging a few more words, Wang Daoyuan brought Zhou to the ancestral shrine to worship their ancestors. Then, they went to the ancestral grave at the back mountain to worship their parents. After that, the two of them came to the Earth Fire Room. The entire Earth Fire Room had more than 100 smaller rooms. The fire had already been set up. Some clansmen were refining pills and refining tools in the smaller rooms. The entire Earth Fire Room was several thousand feet deep. The existing rooms were relatively close to the upper level, far away from the lava. After all, the highest cultivation level of the clan's refiners and pill refiners was only at the peak of foundation establishment. There were also many clansmen at Qi refinement. If they were too close to the lava, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. In the future, when there were more clansmen with higher cultivation levels, they could continue to open up smaller rooms. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou didn't disturb them and went straight to the lowest level. This place was only 1,000 feet away from the lava. Apart from Wang Daoyuan and Zhou, no one in the clan could stay here for long periods of time. Naturally, they didn't open up small rooms here. Wang Daoyuan took out a wisp of dust-returning flame and threw it on the stone wall directly south of the lava lake. In just a few minutes, a small room of 20 feet square was burned out. Then, he set up the fire eye array to control the fire attribute spirit Qi, while controlling the dust-returning flame to burn the stone wall. Zhou didn't disturb him and meditated beside the fire eye. 2 days later, the array for the fire eye and the array to block outside detection were set up. The dust-returning flame also burned out a cave that was similar to the cave abode in the northern part of the mountain. Wang Daoyuan set up another array to separate the fire eye from the cave abode. After all kinds of spirit plants were planted in the cave abode. If the fire spirit Qi wasn't blocked out, these spirit plants wouldn't be able to withstand it. More than a month later, all kinds of arrays were set up. After a few more days, the cave abode was completely restored. In order to neutralize the fire spirit Qi, Wang Daoyuan also drew a water vein and artificially created a spirit spring. Finally, he took out a carved wooden bed and placed it in the boudoir. He smiled and said, "Mistress of the fort, I've fulfilled my promise. Is there any reward?" Zhou rolled her eyes at him and stretched out her hand. "What mistress of the fort? Call me Lord Hall Master. Take out the secret method of condensing the pseudo-spirit fire. I'll reward you with it." Wang Daoyuan replied, "Yes, mistress of the fort. The pseudo-spirit fire doesn't matter if it's sooner or later. Why don't you reward me with something else first?" Zhou glared at him. "What do you think?" Wang Daoyuan hurriedly replied, "I have no objections." Then he took out the inheritance copy left behind by True Lord 100 Spirits. "The inheritance of True Lord 100 Spirits that I obtained is all here. The secret method of condensing the pseudo-spirit fire is in the fire control record." Zhou carefully studied the fire control record. A day later, she took out a wisp of red Luan Nirvana flame and placed it in the fire eye to nourish it. The power of this red Luan Nirvana flame was indeed extraordinary. Although it was only a third-grade spirit fire, the speed at which it absorbed fire spirit Qi and strengthened itself was comparable to a fourth-grade spirit fire. Chapter 566. In just 3 days, the rootless flame had accumulated enough spiritual energy. Zhou summoned the Scarlet Luan Nirvana flame. This flame was still in the form of the Scarlet Luan Divine Bird, with a fire seed in its mouth. She used a secret technique and separated a bit of the Scarlet Luan's Nirvana flame into the fire eye. The Scarlet Phoenix Nirvana flame was condensed from her small sacred art. When this flame was condensed, it had already recognized its master. No one else could touch it. If Wang Daoyuan were to make a move, not to mention splitting the fire seed, even his divine sense would be attacked. If Zhou Wan did it herself, the Scarlet Luan's Nirvana flame would not have the slightest bit of resistance. The Scarlet Luan's Nirvana flame had lost a part of its fire seed, causing its flame to become a little smaller. Zhou Wan quickly withdrew it back into her body to nourish it. The pseudo-spiritual fire in the fire eye had yet to stabilize, but Wang Daoyuan had to personally take care of it. Otherwise, the flame that he cultivated in the future would still recognize Zhou Wan as its master and not listen to him. In the past, nurturing the pseudo-spirit fire was very troublesome. It required a very long time to stabilize the pseudo-spirit fire, without any risk of extinguishing. Now that he had the meteorite fire-controlling gourd, he didn't need to wait. He took out the gourd, which contained the rootless fire of the 5 elements spiritual fire. Wang Daoyuan drained all the spiritual energy in the gourd, and the rootless flame extinguished by itself. After that, he kept the rootless flame of the Scarlet Luan Nirvana flame into the gourd. With the protection of the gourd, there was no need to worry that it would be extinguished. The gourd had recognized Wang Daoyuan as its master, and the pseudo-spiritual fire had been nurtured into a spiritual fire in the gourd. In the future, it would also recognize Wang Daoyuan as its master. He already had 5 types of spiritual fire, so this Scarlet Luan Nirvana flame naturally could not be refined into a spiritual energy seed. Even if it was refined into one's body, it could still be devoured and assimilated by the Scarlet Yang primordial fire. Although he could use the Scarlet Phoenix's Nirvana flame to cast the Nirvana secret technique, it did not have pure Yang Qi. The pure Yang Qi of the Scarlet Yang True Fire and the pure Yin Qi of the Gui Water Nether Flame were in balance. It was extremely beneficial to the growth of the fleshly body and the soul. It was not worthwhile to use the Scarlet Phoenix Nirvana flame to replace the Scarlet Yang True Fire. However, this Scarlet Phoenix's Nirvana flame was not completely useless. It could be used in conjunction with the secret arts in the essence of the divine ability. The essentials of divine arts that he had exchanged with Zhong Xingyang had recorded many methods to help him comprehend lesser divine arts. The most reliable one was the phenomenon in his Violet Palace. In other words, he used spiritual items that were compatible with the Purple Mansion phenomenon to nurture it. The essence of divine ability speculated that the lesser divine abilities of Golden Core cultivators came from the Purple Mansion phenomenon. It could be said that the lesser divine ability was sleeping within the Purple Mansion phenomenon. Those who had comprehended lesser divine abilities were just blind cats running into dead mice, coincidentally awakening lesser divine abilities. This secret technique required a massive amount of spiritual items to nurture the Violet Palace's phenomenon. The stronger the Purple Mansion anomaly was, the easier it was to awaken a lesser ability. Other methods, such as coming into contact with things similar to the Violet Palace realm phenomenon, could also increase the chances of encountering dead rats. Even worse was the Violet Palace resonance secret technique. The other method was to comprehend the innate Dharma spells of the same species as the Violet Palace phenomenon. For example, the reverse scale of the jade-scaled flood dragon in Wang Daoyuan's possession. According to the essence of divine ability, the reverse scale of a dragon hid the innate Dharma spells that the dragon had comprehended. These innate Dharma spells could be transformed into lesser divine abilities in the future. Comprehending these innate Dharma spells would naturally be of great help in comprehending lesser divine abilities. Although there were many successful examples of these methods, the success rate couldn't be compared to nurturing the Violet Palace phenomenon. The success rate of nurturing the Violet Palace phenomenon was higher, but it also had a fatal flaw, which was that it consumed too many resources. Even tens of thousands of years ago, when the Valley of Beasts was still around, only those cultivators who were heavily nurtured by the sect could afford to use this method. Wang Daoyuan was the least afraid of consuming resources to nurture the Violet Palace phenomenon. Apart from the blood essence of the five elements divine beasts, there were no other resources that could compare to the spiritual fire. Among the five elements spiritual fires that he had refined, only the crimson yang primordial fire was not suitable for nurturing the vermilion bird phenomenon. After all, the crimson yang primordial fire came from the scarlet feathered crow and had a trace of the golden crow's charm. Otherwise, it wouldn't have its current power. If he used the crimson yang primordial fire to nurture the vermilion bird phenomenon, the charm of the two divine birds might consume each other and cause the opposite effect. The other four spiritual fires had nothing to do with the divine beasts and wouldn't have such side effects when nurturing the violet palace phenomenon. However, the crimson one nirvana fire was very suitable for nurturing the vermilion bird phenomenon. Legend has it that the vermilion bird was an extremely powerful variant of the phoenix race and was far stronger than ordinary phoenixes. The crimson one was also of the phoenix race. Although it wasn't as strong as the vermilion bird, the charm of the two should be very similar. The best way to nurture the vermilion bird phenomenon should be the vermilion bird's Nanming primordial fire. However, this was the legendary top-tier divine fire. Even the ancient mighty figures couldn't get their hands on it, let alone him. Using the crimson one nirvana fire to nurture the vermilion bird phenomenon should be more effective than the other four spiritual fires. Wang Daoyuan placed the meteorite fire controlling gourd directly into the fire eye to absorb the fire attribute spirit energy and stabilize the pseudo-spirit fire. Zhou Wan took out 2 jade slips and handed them to him. Wang Daoyuan took the jade slips and checked them. The 2 jade slips recorded the Nirvana secret technique and the crimson one fire controlling escape technique. He asked, "Mistress of the fort, why did you give me the escape technique as well?" Zhou Wan answered, "Although your cloud escaping technique is very powerful, it's not very good after leaving the water. In an environment like a volcano, it's even harder to use it. My crimson one fire controlling escape technique can make up for your shortcomings. Now that you also have the crimson one nirvana fire, with the spiritual fire and the escape technique, your speed will far surpass that of ordinary level 4 escape techniques. With this escape technique, it'll be safer for you when you go out." Wang Daoyuan hugged Zhou Wan and said, "You're really my virtuous wife, always thinking of me." Zhou Wan's face turned slightly red. "You and I are husband and wife. Didn't you also give me the inheritance of true Lord 100 spirits?" Wang Daoyuan hugged Zhou Wan and walked towards her room. Just as he put her on the bed, the Hall Master token flickered with spiritual power. Zhou Wan took the token, checked it, and said, "The refined corpses are moving again. 1 level 4 high grade, 2 level 4 middle grade, and 3 level 4 low grade. A total of 6 refined corpses are heading towards the east." The atmosphere was gone just like that. Wang Daoyuan wanted nothing more than to smash the Hall Master token. Looking at his flustered and exasperated appearance, Zhou Wan smiled and said, "You're only so promising. Think of a countermeasure first. With so many refined corpses moving out, the demonic beasts are like a plate of loose sand, unable to resist at all. In the future, the heavenly/mountain range will not be peaceful. We have to be prepared to resist the demonic beasts." Wang Daoyuan did not take it seriously. "I have the meteoric fire controlling gourd, so I can kill level 4 high-grade refined corpses now. Level 4 high-grade demonic beasts without small divine abilities are also not my match. As for those low-level demonic beasts that cannot fly, I can casually release a type of flame, and they will all die. As long as there is no large-scale beast tide, there is no need to be afraid of them." Zhou Wan nodded and said, "The demonic beasts are chased away by the refined corpses. They are like headless flies, and there will not be a beast tide in a short period of time. You have the means to kill a large number of low-level demonic beasts, so there is no need to be too worried. I will let the spies gather more information and report immediately if there is any abnormality." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Lord Hall Master, you see that managing the intelligence agency is so tiring. Why don't you let me manage it? You can also wholeheartedly cultivate." Zhou Wan looked at him with disdain. "In your dreams, you want to hide your little tricks from me? If the intelligence agency falls into your hands, I won't know if you are fooling around outside in the future, right? I have the intelligence agency in my hands, and you dare to cuddle with that vixen Ming Xan. If I let you manage the intelligence agency, I'm afraid you will dare to stay in the Dark Fox tribe. Who knows? Maybe the little foxes have already given birth to a bunch of babies. Wang Daoyuan subconsciously retorted. How can a Jindan cultivator give birth so quickly? Zhou Wan pinched his waist, and even twisted it a few times. She said angrily, You really think so? When you go out in the future, I will have to strengthen the surveillance on you. All day long, you think about fooling around. If you are not careful, you can find a vixen. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly begged for mercy, and the two of them played around for a while. He felt that the doppelganger, devouring soul, had entered the range of his panoramic perception. He immediately checked devouring soul's memories to see what kind of tricks the refined corpses were playing. Chapter 567. Devouring Spirit had been monitoring the refined corpses hiding in the Yinqi cave. From his memories, he knew that the cave was called the Ghost Cave. It was said that the space below the cave was huge and was connected to a natural fourth-level Yin vein. 14 hours ago, Devouring Spirit saw 6 refined corpses coming straight to the Ghost Cave from the west. There were originally 4 refined corpses trapped in the Ghost Cave. The 3 demonic beasts that were killed by the refined corpses had turned into walking corpses. There were 15 fourth-level demonic beasts guarding outside the Ghost Cave. Although the demonic beasts had the advantage in numbers, they were only 4th-level demonic beasts. When the two sides fought, the 4th-level upper-level refined corpses showed their might, and no demonic beast could stop them. After 6 hours of fierce fighting, 5 demonic beasts died, and the rest were all injured. The refined corpses also suffered losses. The 3 walking corpses were burned to ashes by the fire-attributed demonic beasts. The other 3 4th-level lower-level refined corpses were also killed. The demonic beasts no longer had the courage to fight, and were preparing to flee. Fortunately, a 4th-level upper-level black flame tiger came from the sky-chopping mountain range and blocked the 4th-level upper-level refined corpse. The black flame tiger was a fire-attributed demonic beast, and Wang Daoyuan was not unfamiliar with it. In the past, the Netherworld sect fought with the Cruel Sun Palace for the share of the Spirit Stone mine. He once fought with a half-demonic beast called Black Flame. He was a half-demonic beast with the bloodline of the Black Flame Tiger. The Black Flame he used was extraordinary, and the Black Flame Tiger's innate ability was naturally not weak. In the end, the Black Flame Tiger heavily injured the 4th-level upper-level refined corpse. However, it also suffered some injuries, and was unable to take down the 4th-level upper-level refined corpse. They escaped into the Ghost Cave. Although the Black Flame Tiger's injuries were not serious, its wounds were contaminated with corpse and death energy. It would not heal in a short time. It did not dare to continue guarding the Ghost Cave, and could only return to its nest to recuperate. Since the Black Flame Tiger had escaped, the rest of the 4th-level lower-level demonic beasts did not dare to continue guarding the Ghost Cave. Those who had clans fled with their clans, while those who didn't had to flee directly. The refined corpses hiding in the Ghost Cave would recover quickly. If there were no other 4th-level upper-level demonic beasts, the refined corpses would be able to run rampant. Zhou Wan saw that Wang Daoyuan was deep in thought and asked, Did the Devouring Spirit discover something? Wang Daoyuan nodded, and repeated what Devourer had seen. Then he said, Fortunately, the Black Flame Tiger blocked the refined corpse, and gave the demonic beasts a chance to retreat. Otherwise, the demonic beasts would scatter in all directions, and a beast tide would be right in front of them. Even now, with a portion of the demonic beasts heading south, the heavenly/mountain range would not be peaceful. Even though the refined corpses were injured, they would be able to fully recover after staying in the Netherworld cave for 3 to 5 years. At that time, it will be another big problem. Zhou Wan was also somewhat worried and asked, How should we deal with this? Do you need me to make a move? Wang Daoyuan comforted him. Don't worry. I have no problem dealing with these demonic beasts. Then, he sent a message to his third brother, Wang Daochang, telling him that the demonic beasts might affect Fallen Dragon Ridge. He told him to inform the clansmen at Fallen Dragon Ridge to make preparations. Now Wang Daoyuan was not in the mood to discuss the issue of life with Zhou Wan. He had to seize the time to improve his strength. His cultivation had just broken through to the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and there would not be any obvious improvement in a short period of time. His natal magic artifact was nurtured by spiritual fire, and its growth speed was extremely fast. It was already a mid-grade 4th level weapon. It was difficult to improve other spells and comprehension in a short period of time. The most reliable method to improve his strength greatly in a short period of time was to cultivate the Nirvana Secret Technique and the Red Phoenix Fire Defense Escape Technique that Zhou Wan gave him. With the Nirvana Secret Technique, it was equivalent to having an extra life. When facing an opponent of equal, or even slightly stronger strength, this was the trump card to win. A month later, he had mastered the Nirvana Secret Technique and the Red Phoenix Fire Defense Escape Technique. The Nirvana Secret Technique was an extremely expensive method, so naturally, he could not really use it. He just needed to familiarize himself with it. The Red Phoenix Fire Defense Escape Technique was more advanced than the Cloud Mist Escape Technique, but it was also a 4th level escape technique, so the difficulty was not much different. During this month, he had been cultivating the escape technique in the lava lake below the cave abode. The 3rd level superior grade lava did not pose much of a threat to him. The results of his cultivation were also very obvious. With his current level, coupled with the Red Phoenix Nirvana Fire, his escape speed was much faster than the Cloud Mist Escape Technique. Now that he had mastered the Red Phoenix Fire Defense Escape Technique, he no longer had any reliable methods to improve it. He could only take a gamble and use the essence of the Abhijna Secret Technique to nurture the Purple Mansion phenomenon. If he was lucky and suddenly comprehended a lesser Abhijna Secret Technique, it would be a huge gain. Even if he did not comprehend a lesser Abhijna Secret Technique, he could still strengthen the Purple Mansion phenomenon. When the Purple Mansion phenomenon strengthened, the Divine Beast charm that he comprehended would also be strengthened. Especially when the Purple Mansion resonated, its power would be greatly increased. The Purple Mansion phenomenon was a manifestation of a law. The other factions were only researching how to use the Purple Mansion phenomenon to improve their strength. However, he had never heard of a method to strengthen the Purple Mansion phenomenon. In this aspect, the Valley of Beasts could be said to be at the forefront. If the Valley of Beasts could continue, he might be able to open up a new cultivation path. Wang Daoyuan guided a wisp of life spirit fire into his sea of consciousness, then used the secret technique to merge it with the Azure Dragon phenomenon. After more than 10 days, he finally felt that his Azure Dragon phenomenon had improved a little. The Divine Beast charm of the Azure Dragon had also strengthened a little. The spiritual fire essence that he had consumed over the past few days added up to 10 times the amount of spiritual energy in his body. If not for the lava providing him with an endless supply of spiritual energy, he would not have been able to endure it. If this amount of spiritual energy was converted into spiritual stones, it should be more than 500,000 spiritual stones. Spiritual fire essence was not something that ordinary spiritual energy could compare to. If he directly consumed the spiritual energy in spiritual stones, it would not have such a strong effect. No wonder the essence of the Abhijna secret technique said that this secret technique consumed a lot of resources. It was indeed a ridiculous amount. Furthermore, this investment could be a bottomless pit. After investing a huge amount of resources, the probability of not comprehending a lesser Abhijna secret technique in the end was not small. The 5-spirit immortal transformation art emphasized balance the most. He could not only nurture the Azure Dragon phenomenon, but also the other 4 Divine Beast phenomenons. After spending more than a month, he strengthened all the Divine Beast phenomenons. The situation of the Vermilion Bird phenomenon was similar to his previous manifestation technique. Using the Scarlet Luan's Nirvana Fire to strengthen the Vermilion Bird phenomenon achieved the same results. However, only 1/3 of the spiritual fire essence was consumed. During these 3 months, there were not many changes in the heavenly/mountain range. The Thunder Ape and Yun-E were able to deal with some level 2 and level 3 demon beasts. Wang Daoyuan was about to continue strengthening the Purple Mansion phenomenon when he sensed a golden core cultivator's spiritual energy fluctuation from the west of the Jade Spring Peak. He immediately left the Earth Fire Room and went outside the mountain to welcome him. When he got closer, he realized that it was Gu Wangzong. Wang Daoyuan welcomed him to the family's hall. The two of them sat down as the host and the guest. Before Wang Daoyuan could ask, Gu Wangzong cupped his hands and said, "The 3 forts of Wuqing Pass have been breached. The Song cultivators have already reached the back of Wuqing Pass. Now both sides are fighting a war of attrition. The 5 grand elders of the sect have already rushed to Wuqing Pass. Administrator, please send some cultivators to reinforce them." Wang Daoyuan cursed in his heart. This was a case of blessings do not come in pairs, and misfortunes do not come singly. He had just abducted Zhou Wan to Jade Spring Peak, and was about to enjoy it after 200 years. Just as he was about to enjoy it, the refined corpses caused trouble. Now there was another problem at Wuqing Pass. There were so many troublesome matters. However, it was impossible for him to reinforce them. When the Underworld sect had 7 golden core cultivators, they could not do anything to him. Now that there are only 2 golden core cultivators left, they want to force him to submit? He no longer feigned civility and directly refused. "I will not leave Southyin County, and I can't leave." 3 months ago, 6 refined corpses moved out of the Mirror Lake secret realm. One of them was an upper-grade level 4 refined corpse. They met up with the 4 refined corpses and 3 walking corpses in the Ghost Cave and fought with the demon beasts. After killing 5 level 4 demon beasts, the low-level demon beasts fled in all directions. The Wang family's properties are being harassed by demon beasts. Those refined corpses were also injured and are hiding in the Ghost Cave to recover. Once they come out of the cave, they will most likely head south. At that time, the entire Southyin County may turn into a living hell. You want me to go to Wuqing Pass when the family is in danger? Is this a joke? Chapter 568. Hearing this, Gu Wangzong didn't look too good. Now that Zhao State was empty, once demonic beasts or refined corpses came in, the losses would be great. With this excuse, the administrator's mansion would never attack again. The consumption of Song State could only be borne by the Netherworld sect. He still wanted to struggle and asked, "Administrator, the sect doesn't have enough resources now. In the past 2 years, you must have noticed that the sect's resources transported to Qingli Market have been reduced by 30%. There are almost no medicinal pills for healing and restoring spiritual power. The consumption at the front line is great, and the sect doesn't have enough medicinal pills, let alone sell them. I wonder if the administrator's mansion can sell some of these medicinal pills?" The administrator's mansion was about to face a possible beast tide and refined corpses coming from the south. Qi refining cultivators couldn't get involved in this level of battle at all. Foundation establishment cultivators were also cannon fodder, and they didn't need too many level 1 or 2 healing medicinal pills. The healing medicinal pills produced in Yunnan County were usually sold to Guiyuan Market and Green Willow Province, and they didn't use many of them. It didn't matter who he sold it to. It didn't matter if he sold it to the Netherworld sect. Wang Daoyuan replied, "It's not a problem to sell level 1 or 2 healing medicinal pills. But what about the price?" In the past, these medicinal pills were sold to Green Willow Province and Guiyuan Market, and the price was 50% higher than the market price. Gu Wangzong hurriedly said, "The price is not a problem. We can also sell them 50% higher than the market price. Moreover, we can send a flying boat to Qingli Market to transport goods. I have one more thing to ask. In the early years, the administrator was able to refine level 3 Golden Thunder Demon destroying talismans. How is your level now?" "Recently, my talisman making level has improved, and now I can refine level 3 upper grade Golden Thunder Demon destroying talismans. Why? Does the sect want to buy some?" Gu Wangzong nodded. "We do have this intention. In the battle at Wuqing Pass, the Golden Core cultivators haven't taken action yet. So far, the Foundation Establishment cultivators are the backbone, and the Zifu Realm cultivators are the main force. It's just that Song Yi, Emperor Song's sister, joined the Wind Snow Divine Palace, and her attainments in talismans are extremely high. Zhao's state doesn't have an advantage in talismans. Sometimes, a level 3 upper-grade flying boat was destroyed by a level 3 upper-grade talisman, and the 3 major sects suffered heavy losses. If the administrator still had talismans, the sect was willing to buy them at a high price. In addition, the sect can provide talisman paper and spiritual ink for you to refine the Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman. What do you think? The Netherworld sect's talisman crafting inheritance was not very good. It could not be compared to the Snow God Palace's ice attribute talismans. Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections to this business. It was not easy to obtain Tier 3 talisman paper and spirit ink. The administrator's residence's foundation was still too weak, and didn't have a stable production of Grade 3 phase. Previously, in order to improve his talisman crafting skills, he had used up more than half of the talisman papers that he had accumulated over the years. If he helped the Underworld sect refine talismans, he would be able to save a lot of talisman paper and talisman ink. Moreover, he could earn some spirit stones to purchase more raw materials from Shanbei. A great battle was coming, so they had to make more preparations. The future of the Zhao Kingdom was very chaotic. It could be the survival of the 3 major sects, or the revival of the Zhao Kingdom. It was also possible that the Song Kingdom would invade. With the Wang clan's current resources and manpower, they could at most expand their territory a little. There were more than 20 Golden Core cultivators in the 3 major sects, but it was still difficult to maintain the entire state of Zhao. Wang Daoyuan didn't have any thoughts about swallowing the entire state of Zhao. For the Wang clan, the revival of the 9th prince's bloodline was the best result. The Wang clan had made a great contribution. If he contributed a little more, the Wang clan would get the title of County Duke, and it wouldn't be a problem for them to expand their territory. If the 6th prince's bloodline was revived, the Wang clan would be suppressed. It would be better for the 3 major sects to continue to survive. The invasion of the Song Kingdom was the worst result, and it would be difficult for the Wang clan to survive. Therefore, it was in the Wang clan's long-term interest to deal with the Song Kingdom. It was in the long-term interest, and they could also gain a lot of immediate benefits. Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections. He nodded and said, "I still have some Golden Thunder Demon Extermination talismans. I don't think you'll be interested in the low-grade Tier 3 talismans. As for the talismans, I don't need to refine low-grade talismans. I'll just refine Tier 3 talismans. However, how do you calculate the payment for the talismans?" When Gu Wangzong heard Wang Daoyuan agree, he was overjoyed and quickly said, "Administrator, this price is very fair. I have no objection. The sect will provide all the raw materials for the talismans, and the talisman success rate will be 30%. If the success rate is less than 30%, each talisman will be paid 20,000 spirit stones. If the success rate is more than 30%, each talisman will be paid 100,000 spirit stones. How many Tier 3 Golden Thunder Demon Extermination talismans do you have? I'll take them all." Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "No problem. I'm very satisfied with this condition. Now I have 50 Tier 3 Golden Thunder Demon Extermination talismans in my hand. You can take them all." Gu Wangzong also took out 5 storage bags and handed them to Wang Daoyuan. He took the storage bags and scanned them with his divine sense. There were indeed 50,000 mid-grade spirit stones inside. He took out 50 Golden Thunder Demon Extermination talismans and handed them to Gu Wangzong. Gu Wangzong took the talismans and cupped his hands. "The situation ahead is urgent. I won't stay for long. The materials for the talismans will be sent to Qingli City every month. Goodbye." Then he rode a cloud to the west. Wang Daoyuan didn't immediately return to the cave residence in the Earth Fire Room. Instead, he went to the administration hall, where the patriarch and grand elder handled official business. 8th uncle and 9th aunt had passed away. The current grand elder was Wang Mingshan. Seeing him come in, Wang Mingshan immediately saluted. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Recently, the Sky Beheading Mountain Range has not been peaceful. There may be a large number of Tier 2 and Tier 3 demonic beasts harassing there. It will be difficult to control the situation with just the Thunder Ape and Yun Yi. The family must be prepared and make arrangements for the ordinary clansmen in Fallen Dragon Ridge. The cultivators left behind will also be given Tier 3 life-saving talismans to minimize the losses. The clansmen who are traveling outside will also be summoned back as soon as possible. We must be prepared to deal with a large-scale beast tide." Third brother sucked in a breath of cold air and asked, "Does this mean that there's going to be a beast tide?" Wang Daoyuan shook his head. "A beast tide may not necessarily appear. There are refined corpses in the north of the mountain that killed their way into the Sky Beheading Mountain Range, causing the demonic beasts to flee. Other than that, there are also man-made reasons. In short, South Yin County will not be peaceful for a period of time in the future. We must be prepared early to avoid being caught unprepared." He took out the spirit stones given by Gu Wangzong and said, "Take these spirit stones to the north of the mountain to buy all kinds of spiritual items. The war is about to start, and the war will be the family's foundation. It's time to stockpile more resources." The administrator's residence had also stockpiled many spiritual items in case of emergency. They kept about 1% of the resources that passed through their hands. Since the war at Wuqing Pass started again, they kept even more spiritual items, reaching 5%. The spiritual items that they had stockpiled over the years were worth 5 to 6 million spirit stones. However, once the war started, no matter how many resources they prepared, it might not be enough. The more prepared they were, the higher their chances of winning. The third brother took the storage bag and nodded. He returned to the cave abode at the bottom of the earth fire chamber and continued to cultivate the secret technique to strengthen the Purple Mansion phenomenon. Refining spiritual talismans was not a big deal. He could refine a Tier 3 superior-grade Golden Lightning Demon Destruction Talisman in an hour. When he was tired from cultivating the secret technique, he could refine 4 or 5 talismans. His talisman success rate had already exceeded 60%, and he could produce 2 to 3 talismans every day. As long as he had enough materials, he could reach Tier 3 in alchemy, smithing and talisman. The speed at which he earned spirit stones was extremely terrifying. Unfortunately, what the cultivation world lacked the most was spiritual items above Tier 3. Wang Daoyuan cultivated the secret technique in the cave abode every day and made time to refine spiritual talismans. After more than a month, the third brother sent a letter. Someone in the Green Willow continent claimed to be an old friend of the Hidden Cloud continent and the Ninth Prince's special envoy. He wanted to meet Wang Daoyuan. The old friend of the Hidden Cloud continent was Shizhenbang. The Ninth Prince's special envoy was here to convey the Ninth Prince's message. Chapter 569. Wang Daoyuan put on the Black Devil's robe and arrived at the market on Jingtai Mountain. Ever since the administrator's office and the Green Willow province began to do business openly, the small market on Jingtai Mountain, as a place for the exchange of goods, had also prospered. Currently there were 50 to 60 shops on Jingtai Mountain. The administrator's residence also had 10 foundation establishment cultivators stationed here. But they hadn't established a guardian residence yet. The guardian palace was in charge. Wang Daoyuan came to the restaurant where he had a meeting with Shizhenbang and asked for a private room. He revealed a trace of Golden Core Cultivator's spirit energy. Soon, an early-stage Golden Core Cultivator walked over from the east. It was Shizhenbang. The last time they met, he was already at the late-stage Violet Palace realm, only a step away from the peak. With the guidance of the Shur clan's ancestor, and no lack of resources, it wasn't strange for him to reach the core formation realm after 20 years. His concealment technique was very good. Normal Golden Core cultivators wouldn't be able to see his true cultivation. After arriving at the private room, Shizhenbang cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Daoyu. It's only been 20 years since we last met, and Daoyu's already at the mid-stage Golden Core realm." Even the direct disciples of the four top factions can't compare to your cultivation speed. Wang Daoyuan didn't hide his cultivation. He naturally had to show his strength when doing business. Besides, he could hide his cultivation without fighting. Once he fought, it would be hard to hide it. There wasn't much point in hiding it. He smiled and said, "Dao, you don't have to flatter me. Weren't you only at the late-stage Violet Palace realm last time? To be able to reach the peak of the Violet Palace realm in less than 20 years, your talent is quite good. You call yourself the Ninth Prince's special envoy, so you must have the Ninth Prince's decree. Don't beat around the bush. Just say it." Shi Jinbang replied, "The administrator is well informed. You should know about the situation at Wuqing Pass. What do you plan to do?" The future of the war between the two countries was uncertain. After all, the situation on the battlefield was constantly changing. Any small change could affect the final outcome. However, he still pretended to be confident. There's nothing much to see at Wuqing Pass. The three sects are strong, but they can't work together. Although Song Yan controlled the Song Kingdom and had made ample preparations, the foundation of the Song Kingdom was still weak. Now that they were engaged in a war of attrition, no matter which side won, they would suffer heavy losses. No one had the ability to completely defeat the loser. If the three sects were defeated, they would probably only lose Wuqing County. The Song Nation did not dare to start a war in the hinterland of the Zhao Nation. One Wuqing County was enough for the Song Nation to digest for 100 years. Behind them, Qi Chu and Wu were also eyeing them covetously. The Song Kingdom could not afford to delay any longer. Even if the state of Zhao won, they would still ask for resources like they did 100 years ago. Linhai State was still the one that could decide the situation in Zhao. At this time, Wuqing Pass had reached the stage of a life-and-death battle. Most of the forces of the three major sects were stalled at Wuqing Pass. The forces of the Sixth Prince and Lord Linhai went upstream along the Wanchuan River and directly attacked the hinterland of Zhao State. Only when the Song Nation used all its might would they have a chance to take down the three sections. Since the Ninth Prince asked you to come see me at this time, you must have discussed it with Linhai Prefecture and wanted to pull me in. Seeing Shi Jinbang's pale face, Wang Daoyuan heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that his conjecture was correct. Shi Jinbang sighed and said, "Daoyu's foresight is indeed divine. What you said is roughly the same as the plan. The Ninth Prince sent me to ask Daoyu's opinion. When the time comes, do you want to set things right, remain neutral, or die with the underworld sect?" Wang Daoyuan showed a mocking expression. "I wonder who will be the leader of the Zhao family. Will it be the Ninth Prince or the long-legged prince?" Shi Jinbang showed a difficult expression. "Of course it will be His Majesty. His Majesty promised that the Ninth Prince will be the crown prince after the restoration of the Zhao Nation." Wang Daoyuan did not hide it at all. He mocked. "The long-legged prince still looks like he can't be seen in public. He only gave an empty promise. Even his own brother is like this. In his eyes, the Wang family is a rebel. How can we have a good ending?" The long-legged prince's moral character was a mess when he had a good hand in the past. 500 years have passed. Some of the golden core cultivators he took with him back then should have already passed away. It will be difficult for him to raise a large number of golden core cultivators with just the power of Linhai. His current strength will only be weaker than it was back then. This time, he might not even be able to keep his life. No matter what the future of the Zhao Nation is, I will always consider the interests of the Wang family. If I help the long-legged prince, not only will I lose a large number of clansmen, but I might also be punished later. It's better for me to take some benefits from the underworld sect and follow orders to put down the rebellion." Shi Jinbang was not worried but happy. He asked, "If the Ninth Prince starts a rebellion, what will Daoyu do?" Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Daoyu is finally talking about business. If the Ninth Prince's strength is similar to that of the three major sects, I will naturally be willing to help the Ninth Prince. If the difference is too great, then the Wang family can only protect the family." After receiving Wang Daoyuan's promise, Shi Jinbang smiled. "It's good to hear Daoyu say that. The Wang family saved His Majesty back then, and killed 5 golden core cultivators of the Savage Sun Palace. In the end, they sacrificed most of their cultivators for the Zhao family. The 9th prince often says that the Zhao family is ashamed of the Wang family. If the Zhao nation recovers one day, the Wang family will be bestowed with the title of king. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. There's no need to exaggerate. Zhou Jingyuan also promised me that he would be bestowed with the title of king. I don't believe in that. For the sake of our past relationship, I will give the 9th prince a warning. The 3 major sects are not fools, especially the Myriad Spirit sect, which is the most sinister. In the past 500 years, the Myriad Spirit sect rarely took action, but they played the Savage Sun Palace and the Underworld sect. The Myriad Spirit sect has a larger territory and more resources than the other 2 sections. After the Zhao family was defeated, they had the strongest foundation. But on the surface, they only have 9 golden core cultivators, 2 more than the Underworld sect. Including me, they only have 1 more. One can imagine how many backup plans the Myriad Spirit sect has secretly left behind. Don't forget that the Myriad Spirit sect plays with beasts. If they hide a golden core cultivator, they must have a 4th level spirit beast, which is the combat power of 2 golden core cultivators. The Underworld sect is good at refining corpses and controlling ghosts. These things do not have a lifespan limit. No one knows how much wealth they have left behind over the years. Although the Savage Sun Palace seems to be the most dazed, and has been fighting a war of attrition with the Wei nation at the Cold River Pass these years, they seem to be the weakest. But back then, they were the strongest among the 3 major sects, so they must have some wealth. Don't underestimate them. Shi Jinbang nodded and said with a smile. Thank you, Daoyu, for the reminder. I will definitely tell the 9th prince. I came this time not only to sound out Daoyu, but also for an important matter. Then he took out 2 jade bottles and a storage bag. Wang Daoyuan scanned with his divine perception and asked, Dragon Pearl Chalcedony and Yin Yang Purple Jade. 9th prince, what do you mean by this? The Dragon Pearl Chalcedony was the essence extracted from pseudo-dragon balls. The Dragon Pearl Chalcedony extracted from a 3rd level Dragon Ball could allow an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator to reach the peak of foundation establishment in a short time. Moreover, this thing could improve a cultivator's foundation. Although it could not directly increase the talent of the spirit root, it could still speed up cultivation. However, pseudo-dragon balls were extremely valuable. After the Dragon Pearl Chalcedony was extracted, the pseudo-dragon balls were useless. Cultivators with good talent did not need such things at all. Cultivators with poor talent were not even worth as much as pseudo-dragon balls. Very few people were willing to destroy pseudo-dragon balls to extract the Dragon Pearl Chalcedony. Shi Jinbang smiled and said, although the 1st prince was defeated, it was not his fault. His grandson, Zhao Liang, was not talented and married into the Wang family, but he was still the eldest son of the Zhao family. As Zhao Liang's granduncle, how could the 9th prince watch as his grandnephew's lifespan was exhausted? This Dragon Pearl Chalcedony and Yin Yang Purple Jade were used to increase the cultivation of Zhao Liang and his wife. Zhao Liang and his 8th sister, Wang Daoshu, were about the same age as Wang Daoyuan. They were both foundation establishment cultivators, and only had a lifespan of 240 years. Now they were already around 220 years old, and did not have much time left. Wang Daoyuan's expression turned solemn as he asked, I wonder if your highness wants Zhao Liang to return to the clan, or do you want to replace the Wang clan? Chapter 570. In the Underworld sect's territory, the Wang clan only listened to orders and didn't listen to orders. The cultivators of Yunnan County had both merits and demerits, so the Underworld sect could only put it on the head of the administrator's residence. They couldn't bypass the administrator's residence and directly reward or punish them. The power of rewarding and punishing cultivators was the power of life and death. It was the most fundamental power of a ruler. If you didn't have this power, who would listen to you? The power of life and death in Yunnan County was in the hands of Wang Daoyuan, not the Underworld sect's sect master. When he wanted to deal with the 3 clans, the Underworld sect had no right to stop him. They could only discuss it with Wang Daoyuan. Because of the Wang clan's strong backing, the underworld sect didn't even have the power to mobilize them. The Wang clan didn't listen to orders, and only submitted to the underworld sect in name. The ninth prince didn't give anything to the Wang clan, but directly gave it to someone in the Wang clan. This was taking away Wang Daoyuan's power of life and death. When the Zhao clan revives, the Wang clan will no longer have any autonomy. They risked the extermination of their clan, and followed the ninth prince to fight the three great sections. In the end, their interests would be seriously damaged. This was a losing and fatal business. Even a fool wouldn't do it. Shi Zhenbang was also a shrewd person. When he heard this, he knew that Wang Daoyuan thought the ninth prince wanted to seize power. He hurriedly explained, "Daoyu, don't misunderstand. The ninth prince has no intention of interfering with the Wang clan's domestic affairs. The ninth prince and the first prince are close brothers, and don't want the first prince to die. This is just a gift from the ninth prince, as a granduncle to his grandnephew and granddaughter-in-law. He has no other intentions. Either Zhao Liang, or one of Zhao Liang's descendants could be chosen to acknowledge their ancestors and ancestors. Even if it's immortal, it's fine as long as it can continue the first prince's bloodline. Of course, it's all up to Daoyu. Since it didn't affect the Wang clan's future status, it was easy to talk about." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "It's good that you have such intentions. Unfortunately, the three great sects still rule Zhao. If we allow Zhao Liang or his descendants to acknowledge their ancestors, it would be no different from openly going against the three great sections. Let's wait for the Zhao clan to recover before we discuss this matter." With that said, he took out 50 golden lightning demon exterminating talismans and said, "These talismans are enough to compensate for the dragon pearl chalcedony and yin-yang purple jade. Our Wang clan members don't need other people's spirit stones to raise their cultivation." If he took the dragon pearl chalcedony and yin-yang purple jade for free, it would be tantamount to admitting that the ninth prince had the right to kill the Wang family. In the future, after the Zhao clan reinstated the country, if someone used this matter to suppress the Wang clan, it would be hard for him to object. Shi Zhenbang didn't refuse. If he didn't accept these talismans, then it would mean that the ninth prince wanted to seize power, and the cooperation between the two families would be over. He took the golden lightning demon extermination talisman and smiled. "I'll do as Daoyu said. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "I won't see you out." Shi Zhenbang cupped his hands and left the Mirror Iron Mountain market. Wang Daoyuan also put away the dragon pearl chalcedony and yin-yang purple jade, and left to return to the Jade Spring Peak. The ninth prince sent someone to say hello, which meant that the day of the battle was not far away. As long as the sixth prince had a trace of human intelligence, he wouldn't attack Yunnan County first. Even if he was a complete idiot, Lord Linhai wasn't stupid, and would naturally stop him. Therefore, there was no need to worry about the enemies in Linhai. The ninth prince's family wasn't stupid. If the sixth prince wasn't reliable, they wouldn't risk exposing themselves. At most, they would send a few masters who had nothing to do with the oasis to help. On the contrary, the Guthuan sword sect in Shanbei needed to worry. These guys had pretended to be dead for more than 100 years. Who knew what they were up to? After the Zhao clan was defeated, the Golden Core masters fled. Even now, there was still a secret realm in the oasis, where at least 3 Golden Core cultivators were hiding. Were there no other Golden Core cultivators hiding in other places? Before the Zhao clan was destroyed, they had been running Shanbei for 1,000 years. At present, the sixth prince and the ninth prince had sent people to run Shanbei. They were so concerned about Shanbei that it couldn't be a joke. If Shanbei wanted to attack, the best choice was to cross Huiyan Mountain from the Guiyuan Valley and the eastern area. They would directly attack the territory of Yunnan County, and the administrator's mansion would have to fight. A big battle was imminent, and they had to be prepared as soon as possible. At least, they couldn't keep the existing yin-yang purple jade. When the battle started, the Zifu realm cultivators were the core forces. On the administrator's mansion's side, there were at most 8 Zifu realm cultivators, and Wang Daojian was lurking in the Shanbei branch. The others were only some flying warships. The Thunder Ape and Yuni needed to guard Fallen Dragon Ridge, and couldn't be moved easily. The only ones who were suitable to open up the Zifu realm in the Wang family were little uncle Wang Shouja and Wang Mingshan. In addition, Zhao Liang and Eighth Sister were not good at fighting. However, after Zhao Liang and little uncle opened up the Zifu realm, the speed of refining flying warships would be much faster. This value was much higher than that of several Zifu realm cultivators who were good at fighting. Wang Mingshan was an alchemist. Even if his fighting strength was not good, he could still refine more pills. After returning to the Jade Spring Peak, Wang Daoyuan sent a message to Zhao Liang and Eighth Sister, asking them to come to the administration hall. Since the establishment of the Earth Fire Room, the focus of the Wang family's various industries had returned to the Jade Spring Peak. Zhao Liang and little uncle had been refining flying warships in the Earth Fire Room, and Eighth Sister naturally stayed in the Jade Spring Peak. The two soon arrived at the administration hall. Wang Daoyuan took out the Dragon Chalcedony and Yin Yang Purple Jade, and said to Zhao Liang, "The Ninth Prince sent someone to send these. They are for you and Eighth Sister to open up the Zifu realm." Hearing this, Wang Daochang and Wang Mingshan's expressions changed greatly. If Zhao Liang's identity was exposed, the Wang family would have to bear the risk of being punished by the underworld sect. Zhao Liang's expression also darkened. He hurriedly explained, "I'm no longer a member of the Zhao family. I can't accept things from the Zhao family." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "Don't worry. I used 50 high-grade Tier 3 Golden Lightning Demon Exterminating Talismans to exchange for these. They have nothing to do with the Ninth Prince. You're a mid-grade Tier 3 tool refiner, and Eighth Sister manages the various restaurants in the family. The two of you have contributed greatly. If you open up the Zifu realm, you can still serve the family for close to 300 years. This Dragon Chalcedony can allow your cultivation to quickly rise to the peak of foundation establishment. You still have 20 years, so the chances of you opening up the Zifu realm are not small. Put down your work and raise your cultivation first." Zhao Liang nodded. He took the Dragon Chalcedony and Yin Yang Purple Jade and left the administration hall with Eighth Sister. Wang Daoyuan asked again, "How are little uncle and Mingshan's preparations?" The situation outside is constantly changing. The more Zifu realm the family has, the more power we have. Third brother Wang Daochang smiled and said, "The 12th uncle and I often give them pointers, but they still haven't comprehended the threshold of Zifu realm. I'm afraid they'll have to wait a few more days." Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "In that case, let's wait a little longer. I'll go to Clear Glass City to deal with the administrator's estate." The upcoming war couldn't be fought by the Wang clan alone. All the clans in South Swallow County, as well as the rogue cultivators they recruited, had to participate. If they wanted to follow the administrator's estate wholeheartedly, they had to take out some good things to buy their hearts. Although the administrator's estate gave the clans some benefits, the foundation establishment pill that the clans cared about the most hadn't been given any rules. In these years, the Monster Execution Department had killed many Tier 3 monsters and accumulated many foundation establishment pills. Now they could set the exchange rules. As for the cultivators of the Monster Execution Department, they were all single men without any restraints. It would be difficult to subdue them. What they wanted the most was the Yin Yang Purple Jade. The Wang clan didn't have enough for themselves, so it was impossible to give it to them. In addition to opening up the Zifu realm, the rogue cultivators wanted to establish a clan the most. This could be satisfied. After all, the administrator's estate had destroyed the Kong clan of Rubble Peak and the 3 clans of Return Wind Valley. They had obtained some spirit veins and mines, as well as many shops in the various markets that hadn't been rented out. Spirit veins, mines, and shops could all be promised. Those with permanent property had perseverance. With these properties, the rogue cultivators wouldn't be afraid of not being able to subdue them. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.